Everybody, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Rampage Premade League. We have got a great matchup for you guys tonight between Mythos Purple and Screaming Sun Gaming, both sitting in their division at 2-0. My name is Gordo, and I am joined tonight by Drunk Carry. Drunk Carry, how are you doing?
No, I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well, cannot complain in the slightest, and we are going to be hopping right into these picks and bans here. We can see we're almost all the way through, and we're going to see some interesting ones hitting the table right away. The Fiddlesticks has already been banned away by Screaming Sun Gaming.
We've got a quick surfing pickup, too. A highly contested pick in pro play and pretty much all around different solo queue. It's like a 56% win rate across the board right now.
Yeah, no, definitely one of those high priority picks. Seeing it in LCS, seeing it in LEC, and we're going to be seeing it down here as well. So now it's up to the side of Screaming Sun Gaming to figure out how they want to respond here. They're going to be taking in this Olaf in the jungle and now have an opportunity to counterpick what might be bot lane Seraphine, but could easily be flexed to something like mid lane too.
Yeah, and I feel like Caitlyn's pretty safe overall. Got a pretty nice substantial buff in the last patch. I like the Olaf to run down the Seraphine. We see instantly Jhin picked up as well to try to counter that pick.
Yeah, it hasn't quite been locked in yet, but it looks like it is going to likely be the Jhin that's going to be the pick here. It does pretty well into the Caitlyn and has for most of those champs' history, and it is going to be locked in here. Might be supported by the Seraphine or could be mid, as we said. Now, I expect to see maybe that question answered a little bit here, or maybe not. You could take the jungle here and make sure that those picks can't be pinched any farther. There's a lot of options that could be effective into the Olaf here. Things that come to mind are things like the Lilia, or maybe even that Ujir that has been such high priority for a long time and is sitting up not banned so far.
Yeah, we do end up seeing that jungle pick. Kayn wasn't on our list. Oh, it does, like you said, Udyr last second there. Very nice.
Oh, see, and making me not a liar at the very last minute. Thank you, Mythos Purple, for that Ujir lock-in. Now, we're going to be seeing maybe what the last pick is going to be here. There's a great opportunity to take support, or they could just blind something like Vygar, which is more likely to be mid lane. Not out of the question in support, but can definitely take it mid and then look to ban to defend it by taking away this Cassidy.
It looks like they know something we don't know. They made some research on MP beforehand, saw that Seraphine usually goes support, because they were very confident with that.
Yeah, or, you know, maybe they just feel good about the Vygar into Seraphine matchup, but they are going to be banning to defend that Vygar regardless. Make sure that it is going to have as good of a time in the mid lane as they can ensure there. And then this Swain ban being hovered here. We'll see if that gets locked in. Meanwhile, the side of MP going to be looking to pinch away that top lane. They get rid of Onar, and now it's going to be Morgana taken away as well. Not wanting to see that support paired up with Caitlyn in the bot lane.
Yeah, that would be just a lethal, having to deal with Morgana and Seraphine while Udyr's just running straight at your team. So, yeah. I think they want to save their top pick here, but we're going to see what they're going to go up with fourth.
Yeah, you would generally think you want to counterpick top here, but they've got a lot of things open here. They could try to counterpick bot. They're going to lock in this Soraka. So it's going to be Soraka to Caitlyn hanging out in the bot lane, unless we're going to be seeing a flashback to a couple of years ago here and see more Soraka top lane.
Oh, God, never. As a top laner, never again, please.
We can hope, we can pray, but we cannot control where Screaming Sun decides to take this pick. But we are going to see how the side of Mythos wants to respond here. They do need a mid laner here or support, depending on where they want to take that Seraphine. And it does look like it's going to be a mid as they lock in the Victor. Now they have to finish out with a top laner here. They have no choice but to blind this pick, as it is likely going to be the R5 coming out of Screaming Sun. So blindable top laners right now. You come to mind to things like the Gnar, but that's banned away. But the Gragas immediately comes to mind, as well as Renekton.
Yeah, it gives them a nice all-around wombo combo for the team. Seraphine, Gragas ults coming on top of each other. Victor's Stasis Field as well. A lot of areas going to be covered in these team fights.
Yeah, that is what their focus is going to be here. And now the counter pick for the Gragas, not a lot that really hard counters that Vat Boy up there, but there might be a couple of options here for what they can decide to opt into. Could also just go for something a little tankier, maybe a little bit of engage to back up this Caitlyn and this Vigar, as they have some great late game carries here, but they're going to go for split push instead and lock in the Camille.
Yeah, it gives them some more lockdown as well, because really Vigar is their only reliable CC at the moment. So that cage on top of Camille's ult is going to be great in team fights.
Yeah, it certainly is. And that's what they're going to be hoping for, trying to create some Venn diagrams here by just going for that player-made terrain that's going to layer on top of each other and make it really difficult for the side of MP to navigate these team fights. They do have quite a few disengaged tools available to themselves, though. They do have the Encore ultimate from Seraphine, they have the Explosive Cask from Gragas, and as you brought up earlier, they do have that Gravity Field from Victor, all of which can really punish and secure choke points up against the SSG team, even though they do have some really powerful engaged tools in the Camille and the Olaf there.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if this Camille can transition out of the mid game to becoming useful in late game as well, or just going to keep constantly split pushing, as you were saying earlier, because Udyr can answer those split pushes pretty easily, though.
Yeah, certainly can, and is going to be looking to do so. But it's going to be important to see how can SSG really try to set up for the split push in this game. That's something that doesn't always really get executed at the highest level here in the Rampage League, and it's something that's likely going to need to here. As if we start getting really scaled up in this game, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the side of SSG to really navigate some of these team fights. The Victor's going to have a lot of opportunity to abuse some of these choke points here, yet the Olaf's going to fall off maybe just a tiny bit, and it's going to be really hard for them to prevent Udyr, short of getting some really good event horizons down from the Vigar. Other than that, they don't really have ways to prevent Udyr from just running straight at them and getting onto these immobile carries in the Caitlyn and the Vigar.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised by the Soraka pick after we'd already seen Udyr locked in, just for the same reasons as you're saying, because they have no real way of locking down Udyr. I was expecting a Leona, an Ouster, something to really just like enforce their squishy backliners.
Yeah, could definitely be something. Maybe just picked a little bit more like for lane purposes. We saw that Morgana banned away from the side of MP because it is a really well-known duel along with the Caitlyn, where you can land that binding and then chain it into the traps. You can't really do the same thing on the Soraka unless you manage to land the binding with your Soraka E. But if you do manage to secure them through any other forms of CC, if they do accidentally step on a trap or do accidentally find themselves snared up by the Soraka, they can still combo together in a pretty similar way.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm looking over Arachi's champion pool right now as we're kind of going through the picks. And it is a pretty caster heavily based. Arachi does play Rel, but I guess they didn't feel comfortable picking that into everything the enemy team had to offer. So I guess this is going for comfort as well here, because Seraphine actually is one of their most played champions.
Yeah, Seraphine, one of the highest presence champions around right now, period. And while it doesn't really have, you generally want to have some more of those attack speed focused carries so that you can go for the Ardent Sensor and
Hmm.
really buff it up. It is still going to be plenty effective with the Jin and with the Uj. You got to expect that it's going to be going into that Moonstaff build, going to be giving movement speed over to its allies, which things like Jin and Uj especially are going to appreciate quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I mean it's still powerful no matter what. It's an absurd champion. Just, like, super high win rates across the board for 3 different lanes right now.
For sure does. And now, gonna see how some of these lane matchups are really going to play out, as we really do feel like some of the early lane dominance is really going to be focused on towards the side of Mythos Purple in this game. It is really going to be up to Screaming Sun to just try to play on the back foot for a little while, try to farm up with this Vigar pick so that they're able to maybe make some things happen from the mid lane early on. But Eternal Cries and Clogged Toilet are really going to have a lot of opportunities to just move around the map and take control around this mid lane priority, as they are likely going to be able to achieve it early on, and that might make things a little bit difficult to navigate for Reddy on this Olaf.
Hmm. Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of trouble trying to get any lane priority at all for either of the scuttles, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you really generally do expect to be able to get those early on as the Olaf in order to
Hmm.
really take advantage of that early game priority that you're generally able to get. You want to be able to rush those first two dragons and start setting your team ahead as the Olaf, but that's going to be really difficult with this bot and mid lane matchups that Screaming Sun have drafted for themselves. So, going to have to be on the lookout to see how they navigate that early, or if they just decide to forego the dragons entirely, go for early Rift Heralds, and go for the win in the top lane, where Reese's Pieces was able to get the counter pick Camille into the Gragas that he wanted, and hopefully we'll be able to just style on this matchup as he had full range champions to pick from as the R5, and he decided to go for this Camille.
Hmm. So yeah, I think they are in a little bit of trouble if they don't get the Camille head early. Just as you said, I'm kind of looking over the stats. It is pretty heavily skewed in Camille across the board, almost in all ranks.
Yeah, and so we're gonna wait and see for how much they're gonna be able to execute on that. But we are going to need to throw it over to a quick break before we get on loaded into the game. But do not go anywhere. We're gonna be right back with that game one action. Welcome back, everybody, to Game 1 here in the Risen Rampage Premade League. We've got Mythos Purple up against Screaming Sun here on the red side. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again by Drunk Carry. And Drunk Carry, we are going to just be seeing a little bit of a level 1 spread here from both sides.
Yeah, they're kind of killing each other out. Nice little 5-point. I doubt see anything really gonna happen with these kind of comps anyway, level 1.
Yeah, no, not to be expected for too much crazy things to be going on. Does look like Nick is going to be stepping on up here as the support here, but he's going to be met by the opposing bot lane coming in from the bottom river. Just exchanging a little poke here, getting each other's spell thief edges procced a little bit. Now we are going to be able to take a quick little look at the summoner spells here. We are going to have Grasp the Undying for both top laners. Nothing too unexpected from anybody here. Do have to note the fact that it is going to be the cleanse for Dallas with the heal on Arichi. So that is going to enable them to make the most out of their Soraka healing and the kind of buffs she's going to end up with on that, as well as enable Dallas to have a little bit more safety in that bottom lane, make sure that he can cleanse on out of that chain CC that the side of the Seraphine is able to bring to this lane. Now we're just going to be farming in on out here as we get all started. Everybody just moving on in to get their lanes going. Reese's Pieces is coming on up. The river is going to be throwing down an early ward there on his opposing sides, blue buff, just to make sure he can get some tracking down on that jungler. Meanwhile, Eternal Cries is going to be going for this full clear. He does pick up that red buff and then go right down into the Krugs.
So yeah, we're probably gonna see them meeting towards top side, especially as you're saying in the pregame. If we do get a level 3 gank, like priority for this Camille here, we could see a nice counter gank coming up.
Yeah, does appear to be a chance for that, as just got to be keeping our eyes on that. As we said, it's really up to Redeye how he really wants to play out this matchup, because he has the opportunity. Generally, as the Olaf, you want to be getting your bot side going so that you can try to enable these sorts of dragons and get that dragon stacking started early, as the champion naturally loans itself towards doing. But as far as how his lane matchups themselves have actually ended up playing out, he may in fact choose to go more towards the top lane, as Jhin is going to be quite the threat, and the Soraka might not be the most effective early on in the game until she gets some levels.
Yeah, definitely, and we do have the lane pushing towards the Gragas right now, so Olaf could sneak around here. They're gonna have split priority for this top scuttle, with most junglers are coming towards right now.
Yeah, very well could be, as that is going to be that first scuttle. We do see some pings going down onto it from both sides, so it's really going to be up to the laners here on who can arrive faster, or if nobody arrives at all, you got to expect that Redeye and the Olaf going to be able to win out on this fight early. He is going to be there right as the scuttler spawns. You got to believe he's going to be able to finish this one off before Eternal Cries even shows up, but that is a root going down in the bot lane, met up with another root from Best Plunger, but they are just going to back on away afterwards. A good trade, but that's just about all it is going to be, as Redeye does finish off that Scuttle Crab, and now has an opportunity to chase onto Eternal Cries here. He does have Reese's Pieces here for backup, does have access to the hook shot. Eternal Cries is holding his flash for that hook shot, but is just going to be forced to do it from the axes. There is another axe coming on in here, though. Might be able to pick up the kill, but Eternal Cries is going to manage to escape. Has Northward there for backup.
Yeah, that was just a very ill-advised decision. So if we looked at what Eternal Cries did, he actually ran straight over to the Gromp and did that while he was starting up the Scuttle Crab, and they had placed a level 1 ward on top of the blue, so they knew that he was on the Gromp.
Yeah, that was great usage of that ward there to enable them to get the first scuttler. He might even find himself getting double scuttled for this, as we can see Redeye is just pathing on through the mid lane, heading right down towards that bottom lane scuttler, and Eternal Cries was forced to take a recall because of all the health that he ended up losing out on early. So definitely a great play there from the Screaming Sun side. They're going to be able to get themselves a nice early lead in the jungle matchup off of that, and now might end up with some control over the bot side as well, as Best Plunger and Nick have ended up just getting pushed in quite a bit down there.
Yeah, the Seraphine just can't sustain as well as Soraka early on. We have Udyr floating over here, but I don't know if they even win this 3v2 with their health, honestly.
Yeah, certainly could be a bit of an issue there, and they're just going to be having to back on out there. Redeye is just going to return to his camps and continue on farming up, and we saw on the top side, Reese's Pieces actually taking quite a bit of poke from the Gragas, but he is really low on mana there, so he's not going to be able to continue on that advantage, and he is going to be expected to take a recall pretty soon. Does still have access to the teleport, so not going to be too much affecting either way, and Mowgli the cat has just taken his first recall there, and he has picked up that Tear the Goddess for himself. Not too much else here, as we are going to see Eternal Cries heading on up, trying to counter jungle away these Raptors. Redeye has not taken a recall yet, so that is likely going to be able to be picked up by him. Good job on the side of Eternal Cries, just try to gain back a little bit in this matchup, knowing that Redeye is likely going to have to take a recall at some point, as he hasn't been able to do so yet, and did get away with that double scuttle start.
Yeah, and they've got great vision down on the dragon side as well. If the bot side for blue does recall, I think we're going to see an early dragon here from Olaf.
Yeah, and that is what you often want to be doing on these picks, especially when you're able to get ahead in your own matchup early. But Eternal Cries is actually continuing on here. This might be a little bit risky as he's going on over towards the Krugs here, although Redeye does not seem to suspect that he's gone for it, and so is instead going to pass down towards this mid lane. Just going to give Eternal Cries the pathway he needs out. Instead, he's going to go for this gank, but really not a great opportunity to get onto the victor there, not even going to land the undertow. And now he's just able to trade on back with impunity, as he knows exactly where the opposing jungler is.
And he had just hit level 6 as well. He might actually just look for a turn and all in right here on the Veigar if he overstays.
Yeah, does have to watch out for that on the side of Mowgli the Cat, as he just does not have the ability to go for some of these crazy 1v1s early on. He's just looking to stack on up his great evil passive in order to eventually be able to be the monster that we know Veigar can scale up to be, but gonna need a little bit of time to get there, and he's been set behind early on a lot by Clogged Toilet in this matchup, already with about a 14 CS lead.
Yeah, and it's just they knew that they had that. They picked the Veigar early, like we said in the priority, and they kind of walked themselves into this extremely safe Victor pick against it.
Yeah, and the Victor doesn't even get especially hard outscaled here. It has a large range advantage over the Veigar and can just still punish people, especially in those choke points. So a great pick by the side of Mythos Purple there, going to enable them to win lane and also scale up pretty significantly on this mid lane pick. But Nick taking a lot of abuse on this Seraphine down in the bot lane, going to end up chunked out incredibly low. And now Clogged Toilet finds himself getting engaged on the Hextech ultimatum, comes down from Reese's Pieces, but they aren't able to melt through in time. There goes Mowgli flashing forward, using the ultimate and ending up picking up the first blood. Does not go down to the Chaos Storm, even though he was taken down incredibly low, and that is going to be first blood picked up for the side of Screaming Sun.
Yeah, great roam right there from Reese's Pieces. He's been shoving in that Gragas, slowly building the wave right there with the cannon. Came at the perfect time when he was split over there with no vision at all from the side of Clogged Toilet.
Yeah, just a really good move from the top lane, able to extend some of that advantage that he was able to pick on up for himself. He's been able to stay in lane for a significant period of time, as he was able to use the teleport to get on back and shove it on in, while Northward was just going back to lane normally. But we get to see Eternal Cries is coming in for this gank in the bot lane. He's going right onto the Soraka, which he does need to do. Cannot afford to let the sustain go through onto Dallas, so they're actually going to get taken down there. Now they're going to try to move on to Dallas. The Soraka is no longer there for backup, getting chunked down incredibly low. Has to flash away from the snares coming in from the Seraphine, but now he's going to get snared up by the Jhin. Flash forward, double kill for Best Plunger, and now they're trying to trade on back. They bring down the Olaf. They do manage to trade in for Best Plunger, but he is taken down as well by Eternal Cries.
Yeah, a great sneak down from Olaf, but while that chaos is happening bot side, his team just gets ripped apart, and he's not the big, strong Olaf that he thinks he is yet. He hasn't even finished his jungle smite yet. He runs straight in. I don't think he expected to get nuked down that quickly by those 3 champions.
Yeah, and he does end up getting a little bit of shutdown gold from the Jhin, so you got to believe that once that play's already gone down, it's worth it for the Olaf to go in and trade there, but it doesn't really get them too much back in their pockets. It's a very small advantage just from the fact that the Jhin had already picked up 2. And we are going to have to throw it over to a quick pause there, as it appears there are a couple of issues going on with some internet here, but that's fine. We can just step back here and discuss what's going on in the game so far. That's a big bot lane advantage now picked up for Best Plunger. Yes, we were talking about how gold was traded back in a team sense, but all that gold now is on Redeye, who's not always going to be available in the bot lane. So this might be the opportunity that Best Plunger and Nick have to really start to kind of press this advantage back. They are outranged by the Caitlyn early on, and so are just going to end up finding themselves bullied as a result. But now that they have that gold advantage in their pocket, they might be able to find a way to start trading on back.
Yeah. So let's see how much gold he's sitting on. He's sitting on 178 right now, so he's getting fairly close to his gale force. So we'll get it. He's only up 100 gold actually, but yeah, that like you're saying, they're just getting bullied hard the whole time that early phase. That was just a very unfortunate time to push, especially with the champions like Caitlyn Soraka that will push the lane, just kind of like instinctively. They had no vision at all in their tri-brush. They're just kind of asking for Udyr to come at them.
Yeah, and it looks like we are going to be getting the unpauses. The R's come through in chat, and now we are going to be resuming right onto the game. Northwarp is getting a favorable trade here on to Reese's Pieces.
I'm actually very surprised he's not seeing a CS lead for the counter pick that we had talked about in pregame.
Yeah, no, just hasn't really been able to find those advantages. Was able to get the first move early on to set Eternal Cries behind, but that's really all they've been able to cash out on from this counter pick so far. Has built up a pretty substantial wave here that's going to be crashing into Gragas, but just getting harassed there by the repeated barrels, and has now decided that he needs to take a recall.
Yeah, and at a very unfavorable time for him as well. The wave right here, if Gragas wants to, he could really, really freeze this up. He's got about 7 or 8 caster minions coming to his way.
Yeah, he really does. And now just going to be able to scoop those on up and end up with a CS lead here in that top lane. So not too much going on either way. I'm really surprised at the lack of huge amounts of ganks coming in from either of these junglers. They both do have the ability to really snowball some of these games early on. Just have not found the angles that they want so far and have just been farming it up the entire time. Both sitting at pretty substantial CS numbers. But Nick on the Seraphine has found himself maybe on the wrong side of dodge here. He's stuck in the alcove and has nowhere else to really go. So he's just going to get poked on down by the Soraka. Now here comes the teleport coming in from the side of Northward. Can he really make anything happen here? Is that it's going to be the Encore landed onto Dallas. He does have access to not the explosive cast quite yet, but it does come off cooldown. Going to knock him on back and going to enable the curtain call to pick him on up. So that's going to be a kill for them. And now Quang Toilet is getting bumped down in the mid lane, and he is going to get taken down as a result. Cannot deal with Vigar and Olaf in the 1v2 and is going to end up dropping down. It's a 1-for-1 across the map.
Yeah, it looked very rough for Seraphine at first, but the Soraka just doesn't provide the damage for them to even 2v1 and kill Seraphine fast enough. They were able to flip that with the teleport, get a very, very nice ult. Then the fight in mid is going against them as well, and we've got combat happening in the mid top lane right now too.
Yeah, that is Hextech Ultimatum thrown down onto Eternal Cries, but this is a beefy Udyr here, as he can just go into the Eternal stance and keep on trading back, but now that Redeye has shown up, he is forced to flash on away, maybe biting off a bit more than he can chew there, as that is going to be 2 up in the top lane for Screaming Sun, going to prevent Eternal Cries from doing too much, but he can continue to just stand in turtle stance and pick up farm until Northward shows up.
He's gonna go right over the Rift Filter. This would be the second objective that Olaf sneaks, like right under the nose of Udyr, which they've been on the same side of the map both times now too.
Yeah, and once again, he's kind of in an advantage state here, as Eternal Cries does not have access to the flash. He's going to walk up, but he's going to see Reese's Pieces there, and likely know that he can't go for too much, but they do not know that Vigar, or they likely do know that Vigar is taking the recall. Here he comes in with the teleport, but Northward is here for the backup, so it is going to be a 3v3 all in all, though Clog Toilet might be on the wrong side here. He dodges out on the event horizon, so not going to be stunned up by that, and now can just stand here and try to zone away Reese's Pieces and Mowgli the Cat. Does have access to the Death Ray, does have access to the upgrade by now, I believe, and so they're just going to move here onto Redeye. He does have the Ragnarok, and now it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade on the 2 junglers. Neither jungler now is available. Who is going to end up picking up the Rift Herald? It does look like both sides are going to be forced on away, and now neither is even going to go for it, as they just want more kills. Northward going to be getting the slowdown from the barrel, going to be moving farther onto the Vigar. He gets chunked down incredibly low. He's burning down from the Ignite. He does get shut down by Nick on the Seraphine. That has, in fact, left Blast Plunger in a 1v2 on the bot lane, so they're going to be picking up as many plates as they can, but you gotta believe they were getting those anyway. That's a good trade up in the top lane for the side of Screaming Sun, or for the side of Mythos Purple, rather. Although that is going to, in turn, be traded back by Screaming Sun, as they're able to pick up a kill, though Quag Toilet has teleported down here into the bot lane to pick up onto Dallas. Another 1v1. Arachi showing up here a little bit later, might even be able to get some supportal combat going on if he's able to finish off Quag Toilet, but not quite able to do so.
I do not envy your job right now, Gordo. I am literally winded just watching that last sequence of events right there.
It happens. It's Rampage League, and so these guys just love to fight all the time, and yeah, that's the fun of it. At least you got a lot of action going on, and nobody ended up picking up the Rift Herald. By the way, it was sitting there at about 1k HP with the eye wide open, but nobody wants to go for it. They just want the kills even more, and they end up picking up Mowgli the Cat as a result. Although now here comes the flash in from the Vigar. The shield just barely keeps Femboy Nick alive.
Yeah, MP played that Rift fight very, very smoothly. They were getting teleported on by Vagar. I thought they were going to lose it and just walk away, honestly, but they slow played it and ended up zoning out everyone from Olaf.
Yeah, just can't stay on top of him, and that is going to be that. Now Redeye is down here in the bot lane, wants to keep snowballing up these dragons as he's able to, as he's already been able to pick up the first one. I've been talking too much. I can't talk anymore, Drunk Carry. But now Eternal Cry is going to be chased on away by Redeye here, and that might be their opportunity. They want to start up this dragon, and they want to just keep stacking these things up.
And if we look at the gold, after all of that chaos, after what looked like 2 good instances for the side of MP, it's still completely split in gold. This next fight at Dragon could swing it pretty hard in the favor of whichever team can grab it.
Yeah, chasing down onto Redeye here, though. He does have access to the Ragnarok, and now once again in the bot lane, we are going to be trading back and forth here. The Soraka is caught out in the river, so Dallas is getting on engaged, but the Soraka's arrived in time, and they aren't going to be doing anything more.
Yeah, and I'm going to go and give kudos to Dallas here. I'm very surprised to see a Caitlyn and in the Rampage League picking Cleanse. And in this matchup, you would think that most of the time they just insta-lock the heal, but it's saved him twice now, actually.
Yeah, and he's able to take that heal because of the Soraka pick. The Soraka usually ends up going for the heal as he is going to get all those buff-up items as a result. But now it's going to be Olaf going in onto a fight onto the Seraphine, trying to focus him out, but not even going to be able to finish it here. Best Plunger has an opportunity to block the shot from Caitlyn and is able to do so, going to keep his support alive there as a result. Good guy 80 carry, although he does end up getting taken down by Mowgli the Cat. Now they're going to be moving on through blue team to secure the dragon, so it's going to be 1-for-1 all in all with that. Clogged Toilet now is alone, and his team has abandoned him as he's trying to chase farther onto the opposing bot lane. Now they're going to be coming on back. Price is so fast on this Olaf, gets the stun, it guarantees the 4th shot from the curtain call, and they're going to be able to pick up that kill onto Dallas. And now Mowgli the Cat finds himself stuck in the middle of the river. He's got opponents on both sides, and he's going to get taken down, but he does manage to trade back onto Clogged Toilet, and now it's only Soraka, only Arachi getting chased down by Eternal Cries, and the bear stance makes him so quick here. If he's able to catch on up, he is almost able to do so, but not quite, but the damage allows for the snare to come through from the Jhin, and they're able to pick him up at the end of the day.
Yeah, these deadly flourishes from Best Plunger are insane this game. I've seen him just snipe the last, like, 4 of them. Like he's got an aimbot or something.
Yeah, no, great shots there and great enabling of the shots coming through from the CC from his allies. The bear slaps coming through to keep people stunned down so that we can guarantee the shots coming in through from the curtain call, as well as the snares coming in from Seraphine. Great use of that fight there. Also, importantly, able to keep the Seraphine alive by just noting their health totals and being able to shut down any attempts to finally finish off that kill. He got taken down incredibly low by the Olaf, but they were able to just focus him down before he was able to finish off that kill, and then was going to get taken down by Ace in the hole from Caitlyn, but they were able to nicely block it out on by Best Plunger.
Now that we finally, have a little bit of a lull in the fighting, I'm looking over the gold, and like we said, the gold is going 1.3k to the side of MP now. And if you look at individual gold, it's almost all on the Udyr. After those last 2 fights, he picked up 4 assists, he picked up a kill, they got the dragon. He's 1,000 gold up on Olaf now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the issue here, too, is that they have not gotten ahead in their split push matchup. This Camille needs to have a lead so that she's able to side lane up against Gragas or Victor or whoever she ends up having to pair up with. But at a 30 CS deficit now almost, going to be very difficult for him to do that for quite a while. And if they can't get that split push going, they do not have the best comp in the 5v5. And you don't think they're going to be able to do it unless they get some kind of miracle positioning on some of their carries.
Yeah, and I think it was very wise from Northward to max Q instead of Gragas. If you look at what most pro players do, they actually max E, you know, for the cooldown reduction. But getting the Q, able to constantly shove Camille in, who's not the best wave clearer early on, has really enabled this lead.
Yeah, just excellent read of the matchup and just able to find opportunities to win it out as a result. Good matchup knowledge there coming through from Northward.
And we have pretty much deja vu of last time. They're starting the Rift Trail and have to walk away from it yet again. And it looks like Olaf or Udyr is just going to be able to steal it up.
Yeah, and that would be a great advantage for the side of Mythos Purple. They want to be able to continue to accelerate up here with the lead that they've gotten for themselves, even though they haven't been able to get the dragons quite yet. And that is going to be a huge engage coming in onto Mowgli the Cat. Eternal Cries interrupting his recall to just flash on in and pick up the opposing mid laner. And now there's a fight going on in the bot lane. The Soraka has been locked down, and the Soraka is going to get taken out. And now Redie rather tries to flash on away, but he's going to be taken down as well. A double kill goes over to Eternal Cries, and this lead inflates even farther.
You might as well call the Veigar HP system because he was just free candy for the side of MP there. They were just running him straight down.
Yeah, there's 2 REE players over on the screen Sun this game. It's going to be a little bit difficult to keep on straight there, but Redie does try to flash on away there. Doesn't even use the Ragnarok because there wasn't too much CC coming through. There's just damage, and you can't do anything as that on the Olaf. And now going to be another kill picked up in the bot lane for Best Plunger and Nick. They are just able to keep these opposing sides CC'd down, and as long as they can prevent Soraka heals, they're able to win the fight. Now here comes Mowgli. He's flashing on down, trying to get them loaded or CC'd up so that he can try to pick up the kill, but he needs to land those skill shots to actually be able to burst through this Jhin. Does not have access to the ultimate quite yet. Going to be up in just a couple seconds. Now Arachi getting engaged on by the opposing mid laner. Clogged Toilet is here zoning him on away, and there is the shutdown picked up for the Veigar, but he's going to get taken down. It is a trade. Now Clogged Toilet getting chased on away by Redie here, and it looks like both sides just going to return to where they were. It's a like 1 for 2 in the extended trade, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. We did have some TPs burn there from Veigar. I'm actually it would have been even worse if Mowgli didn't hit that miracle shot onto Jhin as well.
Yeah, no, just maybe a little bit over aggression there from Best Plunger, just feeling like I'm so strong on this Jhin, I can just go in onto the Vigar with only about 400 HP, but not quite able to survive through it. Now, Reese's Piece is getting engaged on in the top lane by Northward, has to just hook shot on out of there after the explosive cast, but is able to do so. Has access to the Hextech ultimatum, but at this point, it's not really going to be able to do too much as he's sitting here at a very low health total, just getting poked out over and over by these Gragas barrels.
Yeah, I feel if this was Soldier right now, he'd be pinging. He's like, help, help, someone please. Like, he's having the counter pick. He's getting bullied now. Gragas is only going to get tankier. How much gold is he sitting on? He's sitting on 2,700 gold right now.
And you know, part of this also as well, you gotta give at least a little bit of the credit over to the summoner spell choice from Reese's Pieces. He's gone here on this Grasp of the Undying, which it really kind of sets you back damage-wise as the Camille. It enables you to heal back up a little bit, but you can't really end up really being able to trade effectively on it, and you're not going to be proccing it too often on Gragas, because you need to really be, you can't constantly be going in for auto trades. You really need to pick your exact moments when you're able to get those Q procs on the Camille.
Yeah, I was very surprised not to see him go all in on his counter pick and go for Comet there. And then, with the W start, that would have helped out a lot. Just kind of set the tempo for the laning phase, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I have a friend who's a top lane main in like high platinum who's just losing every game on Camille, and eventually he was able to turn it around. And he told me, "Yeah, I just have to take Conqueror every game. If I take Grasp of the Undying, I lose every single lane because I just can't get the moments that I need." And it looks like that might be a little bit of what's happening to Reese's Pieces here.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we get caught up in. Oh, go ahead and fight going on.
Now Nick going to be engaged on here. He's locked down by the Hextech ultimatum, and Northward going to try to flash in and make the difference, but not even able to do that. And his explosive cast going to get nullified by the Ragnarok, but still Quagtoilet just has so much damage, is able to try to melt on through this Olaf. He does get finished off by the Curtain Call plus the Victor combo, and now even more slows coming through. Oh, a big fourth shot is going to be able to finish off Arachi. Reese's Pieces has been picked up as well on the other side, and that's going to be a 3-for-1 fight. Mythos Purple will take that for their support any day of the week, and they're going to be able to march on through this top lane.
Yeah, it's just spiraling out of control quickly. Every time it looks like there's a favorable catch for SSG, it's on a low priority target, and they end up losing 2 or 3 teammates for it.
Ooh, and now Eternal Cries looking to maybe set up the dive here. Comes on through with the bear stance, but he does end up giving up on it. Knows that he's just going to get zoned on away by that Event Horizon, and he's just going to return back to the lane. Knows that his team can siege out regardless. There goes the Event Horizon, going to be landing onto the Udyr here. This looks like a disconnect. Somebody's got to pause this game. But we're just going to go on through it. We're going to keep on playing.
Yeah, I thought it was Trick 2G taking over his soul for a second there. Then the DT made a lot more sense.
No, that's the BM. That's some legendary tier BM right there. I've never seen that, where you're in a competitive match and one of your allies disconnects, but you're at such an advantage that you don't even care and you just play through it.
And he actually reconnected pretty quickly. We see him farming now, so it's good.
No, just that's a shout out. Don't take that as a criticism, Mythos Purple. If you can, if you can get that mental edge, you take that mental edge. And they are going to be doing so. They've got 2 dragons in their pockets here as well, and as I said, it's not really a strict scaling advantage over for the side of Screaming Sun. I know your first instinct might be, Caitlyn versus Jhin. The Caitlyn's got to have the scaling eventually just because she has more range, and AD carries like range, and that's true to some degree, but the Jhin just ends up getting so much additional AD and value from the items that he builds and the way his passive works that he just ends up being so fast and such a high and relevant damage source for almost the entire game. Maybe at full 6 items, 50-minute late game, Jhin gets outscaled by Caitlyn, but it's going to be a long time before we get there.
I think even like you're saying, the kit that Jhin has right now in this meta with Collector, it takes a massive outplay, in my opinion, still from Caitlyn, because she gets hit by 1 Q. She gets rooted 1 time, hit 1 time by his ult. She's probably going to blow up with the next auto.
Yeah, it's really going to be, if she outscales at all, it's likely going to be in the team fight settings. And even then, it's still difficult. Those aren't really the items that Caitlyn ends up going for. She doesn't really itemize into Hurricane anymore, as it just isn't as statistically efficient. And so she could really only be hitting 1 target, same as Jhin. Now Northward going to find himself getting engaged on in the top lane. He's locked out by the Hextech ultimatum, has the Ragnarok Olaf on top of him, has the ace in the hole too, screw it. And it looks like he's going to be able to be taken down by Dallas as a result. A little bit of a gold donation over to Caitlyn there.
Yeah, Screaming Sun's hungry there. They're like, finally, we get a little bit of food in front of us. We're going to take this. Like, the one cocky top laner that's a little bit overextended. And getting to Caitlyn is huge, in my opinion.
Yeah, going to be a nice influx of gold to get a Dallas back on up here. You can see, if we look over at the gold for a second, that Dallas, despite his 50 CS lead, is not even really ahead here.
Yeah, the 7 kill, he's farming champions for Jhin, so.
Yeah, no, he's farming gins and he's collecting them too. He's got the collector for the bonus gold as well to be coming on through there, and he's going to be feeling really happy on that gin. Does have himself pretty decent itemization lead. It's going to be 2 items, 2 each, but he's got a pickaxe in his pocket as well, which does really account for the gold difference there, and is a pretty big difference, especially on a champion like Jin where you have so many AD ratios. And you really just value that flat AD as a stat.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, again, I'm another shout out to MP. They have wards in very unconventional places. SSG tried to sweep that top try, and Olaf tried to come gank Jin. It looked like a 3v1 overstay, but that really tricky ward in the top side up there gave him vision, walked away safely, and they've been doing that time after time again across the map.
Yeah, he's going to be face checking onto Clogged Toilet here. Going to take a little bit of damage, but just hook Sean on out. Does not have access to the Hextech Ultimatum yet. Now, Redeye going to do the exact same thing, and he's going to be forced to blow his Ragnarok as a result. You knew that there were members of the enemy team waiting around in that tri-brush, and he face checks it anyway.
Yeah, it's... They just have to concede this dragon, I think. If they try to fight, it's going to make this even worse. They're down 5,000 gold. The enemy team is just shopped, and they've got all the vision in the world.
Yeah, giving up Soul Point really does not feel good here, but they likely just do not have a choice. They want to have the positional advantage so that they can make sure they have their fight lines the way they want them, so that they can make sure that Soraka is safe to keep targets like Olaf and Camille, who are going to have to act as a pseudo frontline here ahead. They want to be able to set up a split push with the Camille so that they can teleport in on a flank, and they want to be able to have that Vigar in a safe place so that he can lay down event horizons to keep the backline safe even more. I know, none of those set up, just can't do it anymore.
They're kind of just sweeping through the map. This is like, there's what they were doing earlier, just in between objectives, over and over, just sweeping top side jungle and taking complete control here. And they want this top tower bad, I think.
Yeah, they really do. It will really enable them to get onto the Baron there. As the way it's going to be able to push on even farther, and that's a nice snare coming in from Best Plunger, and that is going to enable them to finish off the kill with the curtain call. And now, might be a little bit of an engage in the bot lane here. Clogged Toilet is once again all alone, getting engaged on by many targets, but he's learned from his past mistakes and just trying to run on away. Going to flash away from that undertow, but now here comes the Ragnarok. A big chase on coming down from Redeye, but I just don't think he can catch him, and he's going to eventually have to give it on up. That's his flash and his ultimate blown for basically nothing.
Yeah, that's when Rage meets logic there for a second. He's like, I want this so bad. And he's like, all right. Just take a deep breath, Redeye. I'm going to walk away here. But also, the map, yeah.
The opposing team is going on to the Baron, so that might be part of what is waiting there. But he has, they can't do anything even with the vision. They got no members on that side of the map. The Reese's Pieces was just taken down in that top lane, and so it's a free Baron picked up for the side of Mythos Purple.
I don't think they expected Mythos Purple to do that so quickly, but that was a great call since they saw 2 bottom. If you look at the team comp, you never expect Victor Jin to take Barons very quickly.
Yeah, Victor wasn't even there, and instead it was actually just Eternal Cries getting a lot of damage from that Tiger stance, and Nick just able to keep everybody sustained on up and dealing a moderate amount of damage himself with some of these AP items, and eventually they're just able to take it on down. As long as you have free reign over the Baron and don't have to focus even a little bit on zoning off opposing members, which they knew they were able to do because they have a really nice vision line set on here. They have one ward right outside of the base gate, they have another ward the top side path, and a pink ward down at the bottom side, so they would know immediately if anyone was coming in. But Eternal Cries is just gonna walk into like 4 people and end up dying as a result. That's
no.
what it was.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Let's say he's been playing almost flawlessly throughout the series. I was like, he's not that cocky right now, is he?
No, it's the internet coming on yet again, but he's gonna be coming on back. You know, that's Eternal Cry is the internet's his greatest opponent so far this entire game. Is he's been able to really take a massive lead in this jungle matchup. Redeye stuck on 1 in 5 here, despite having a really good interaction just to start off this jungle here. He was able to double scuttle his opponent and get off to an early lead on the Olaf, which is exactly what you want to happen. But Eternal Cries, with just some smart pathing, able to steal away a bunch of camps to get himself back in the game, and then some very smart ganking, able to just continuously make these ganks happen and get himself substantially ahead.
Yeah, and after that Udyr gets 2 or 3 items, he has so much movement speed right now. No one's getting away from him.
No, this is why this is one of those tier 1 junglers that everybody at every level of play is prioritizing to an insane degree. But Northward getting engaged on here, a nice Ragnarok going to immune that explosive casket. That is going to seal his fate as he gets taken down by the ultimate from Mowgli here. And let's look over at Mowgli, as he is the greatest hope for the side of Screaming Sun. He's picked up 8 kills here, which each one going to be giving him over 5 permanent AP, as well as all the AP he's farmed up for himself. He's got 277 bonus AP here on the Vygar, and that number is just going to keep gumming up, and it's the best opportunity that they have to be able to get back in this game. Unfortunately, so much magic resist being itemized because of how far behind Dallas has been set, and the fact that he is so focused on single target damage with that Storm Razor build, that it's going to be really difficult for him to ever get to the point where he's able to deal with something like Udger or something like Gragas, as the Spirit Visage and the Force of Nature have already come through.
Yeah, and he's going to try to get this Infinity Edge here, I think, but it might be a little too late if they continue to push with this Baron here, because even though they did get a catch topside, they lost a tower for it.
They did, and now going to be the Soul Drake spawning up here in about 60 seconds. So got to expect both teams are going to be arriving here to get that set up, but it's really up to Screaming Sun. For them to even have a remote chance here, they have to be the first ones into the river. They have to start getting their vision lines down early. They have to get Reese's Pieces on the split push, which he is doing. He's up in that top lane, shoving back the wave, and hopefully we'll be hitting the outer turret fairly soon, and they need to be able to just get angles where Mowgli's able to do things. But no, it looks like they're trying a little bit too late here, as the first to the river is going to be Mythos Purple. They're going to pick up the opposing support, just trying to get in there and get some vision down, and now it's a 4v5 on the map.
Yeah, and she almost gets away, but getting hit by that captive audience just gets that slow, that little bit of damage that Jin needs, and there's just no chance for this dragon, in my opinion, here.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much going to be it. If they can't get into the river, they can't get control, they don't really have a good chance. Redeye could Ragnarok in and go for the YOLO steal, but that's pretty much the only opportunity they have, and it looks like he doesn't even want that.
Yeah, never if he does, he's down 2 levels as well. It's going to be very, very difficult for any chance at all.
Yeah, no, and not only is it going to be Mountain Soul, but it's going to be 3 Mountain Drake Mountain Soul. So that third tick over of the Mountain Drake going to give substantially more bonus magic resist and armor than the other ones did, as all Drakes work here. And with 2 tanks on your roster, that's actually going to be a substantial advantage. This Gragas and this Udger are going to feel very tanky this game.
Yeah, it's just frightening now. And the Udyr prioritized MR, like you were saying. Veigar is playing amazingly, but they got to look for a pick here, in my opinion, to even look for a chance.
Yeah, just needs to get onto some of these carries here, but honestly, the Udyr is almost a carry in his own right at this point. Watch his damage here as he goes in onto Reese's Pieces. He's going to be able to do so much. Gets the stun, gets the Phoenix Stance, already doing a bunch. Here comes the Tiger, really able to dish out quite a bit of damage on his own there. So even if they do manage to somehow get this engaged and pick off Clogged Toilet and Invest Plunger, it's really going to be tough for them to navigate these fights.
And I will say for Reese's Pieces, though, that was a great escape. Using the ult and then walking out of it, getting out of that 3v1, and then Veigar being able to come cage as well. He had looked dead to rights when he'd gotten invaded there.
Yeah, and he does pick up the Tiamat and the Ravenous Hydra. Still wants to rely on his split pushing, which is really the best path forward for the Camille, but now it's going to be a flash engage coming in from Clogged Toilet in the bottom lane. The ultimate does not quite do enough, and he's not chasing, but he is going to be able to take down Dallas, now getting re-engaged on by the opposing jungler and support. Going to be trading on to the Olaf. Not really what you want to be doing as the leading team. You'll take that if you're Screaming Sun.
Yeah, it's best for the worst situation there for them, for sure. Just a little bit cocky from Clogged Toilet. I think he wanted to show how strong he was to Caitlyn.
Yeah, and I mean, he did show it. He was able to take him down, but just not quite enough to get out on the backside. So not really going to be able to do anything in a team sense from it, but that is going to be another Baron spawning on up here in 25 seconds, and you got to believe that that is going to be what Mythos Purple want to focus on around in order to just keep this snowball on going, and eventually they'll likely be able to use that one to break open the base.
Yeah, Mythos Purple does lack range in comparison to Screaming Suns, so I think Baron is a big win con for them.
Yeah, their siege is okay, but like you said, they kind of lack the range here. They can poke onto people with the Jhin, with the Seraphine, even with the Victor, but they can't really stop them from just wailing away at these minions and preventing them from getting in. But you can make the minions quite a bit tankier once you pick up the Baron, and that is what their hope is going to be. They're going to focus here onto that, and it's really up to Screaming Sun to get some members over here right now. They do not have a lot of time here. They have no vision on it. Now they're going to pop down the Scryer, so they do know that it's coming on, but they can't get there in time, and the Baron going to go over to the side of Mythos Purple.
Yeah, it's another uncontested objective. I think at some point you have to say, okay, we're so far down, we need to throw a Hail Mary, we need to get a Ragnarok, like you were saying, for the Dragon, and at least try to get this.
Yeah, not able to do so, and now they're just getting chased on down here by Eternal Cry. Is going to be getting that snare from the Soraka, but now there's going to be Curtaining Call opening on up, trying to chunk down some people, not going to do too much there, as now they're just looking to set up this siege in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think they'll be finally be able to crack an Ember Sword. They do get a nice little route there.
They do, but not able to transition it into anything here. Is just you want to see maybe a 1-4 or a 1-3-1 setup even coming on through from the
Hmm.
side of Mythos Purple here. They want to be able to maximize the usage of this Baron. Here is Northward up in the top lane. He has picked up that wave there and is going to be crashing on in, but you really want to be able to synchronize these waves to get the most use out of it, and they're not going to be able to quite do that as the next mid lane is quite a bit away. But they do have a big wave up here in this top lane, so just going to be transitioning multiple members up here to try to get some poke damage out of the turret. They do manage to take about a quarter of its HP, but that is it. That's a big death rate, though, across the back line of the opposing side. Arachi has been taken so low from all this healing that he's had to do on the Straka, and now he is going to have to fall back to the fountain as the wave crashes in the mid lane. So they're going to be able to take out their first turret there as a result, and now we're going to move on to the inhibitor if they can.
So yeah, they'd actually switched up to a 3-2 there, which you rarely see on pushing, but it ended up working out because Screaming Sun rotated 5 people top, and then they're getting caught now, not rotating pretty low to
And now
mid.
here comes the case where Ragnarok is popped from Redeye. They're just trying to focus down onto the opposing mid laner in Clogged Toilet, but not able to do so. Here comes the Event Horizon, going to be stunning up 2 targets, but they just can't get any follow-up, and so they can't actually take anybody down. Now with all those tools used, with the Ragnarok blown, they are just going to march on forward, take down the inhibitor, and know that they have no contest on.
Hmm. Yeah, and no real hard CC outside from the Vanguard cage. They're kind of, after Ragnarok goes down, they just have to watch. That's all they're able to do.
Yeah, it really is, and now that's going to be the top inhibitor taken as well. Here comes Ace in the hole, but going to be blocked away by Northward. Nicely played by him there. As now Nick getting engaged on the backside. He has no backup from his teammates, but he's just going to flash on away, and now here comes the engage onto Reese's. They're going to be getting a big encore onto 3 targets. That's going to lock down multiple members for quite a while, but nobody's getting onto Redeye. Redeye does eventually go down as the carries turn onto him. That's a double kill picked up for Best Plunger, make that likely a triple for him, and now he's going to be opening up on the curtain call. Gets the 4th. Can he get the pentakill? He's already got the quadra. Here comes the final damage, and that is going to be a pentakill picked up for Best Plunger here, and that is also going to be the first game going over to Mythos Purple. Nicely played by him.
Good lord, what a powerful finish to a ridiculously violent game.
Yeah, just fighting all over the place there, and they just could not get their angles. They did not have enough items on their carries, and they aren't able to take the win as a result. But an excellent pentakill picked up there for the AD carry of Mythos Purple. A nice way to cap off what was really a dominant game from him all the way across. Yes, they suffered a little bit in the early laning, but such is the nature of playing up against Caitlyn, and he's able to come on back, get some kills for himself, continuously beat out the opposing bot lane in the later game, and then is finally able to finish on all off with a pentakill.
Yeah, just masterfully well done, and they just got caught overextending a few times bot lane. As soon as Udyr started ramping up, like you said earlier, Olaf got both scuttles, but didn't get anything outside of it. I don't know what they could have done differently there in that early game, but really just nice patience, nice win conditioning from the side of MP as well.
Yeah, no, just needed to find a way to keep that game snowballing, but we're never able to do so. We're never able to get the split push game going as they needed to with the way they drafted. And so they're going to end up being taken down by the 5v5 power of Mythos Purple. But this is a best of 3 series, so we are going to see still maybe 1 or 2 more games coming out from these teams if Screaming Sun is able to come back. But before that, we're going to need to get on into the next lobby, and we're going to need to take a quick break. So do not go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 here in the Risen Rampage Premade League. We have got Screaming Sun Gaming, this time on the blue side, trying to come back in Game 2 up against Mythos Purple over here on the red side. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again by a drunk Carrie, as we are going to be getting right into these picks and bans.
Okay, and just like last time, they're going pretty quick here for the pick bans. Let's see, and we got Vladimir banned yet again.
Yeah, just wanting to keep that one off the table here. Likely a pretty common pick coming through from the side of Mythos Purple. Do not want to be letting that one through in this game. But we're going to see if they want to make any adaptations from game one here, as there are quite a few picks that feels like made quite a big difference. But I think that Ujir is going to be right up at the top of everybody's minds.
Oh yeah, I thought that was gonna be their first ban, honestly.
Yeah, it is going to be the second. So comes number 2 to the Vladimir, but is no longer going to be available for the side of Mythos Purple. Also, an interesting ban to see on the blue side, as likely means that they don't really play it on the side of Screaming Sun.
Then we see Victory Rate up again, so I guess they're prioritizing the champions that had just really been the catalyst in that last game. But I'm surprised to see if they might do an early Jin pickup here. I don't know if they want to deal with that again.
Yeah, we're going to be able to see what they want. They have a lot of opportunity here. Seraphine has been banned away by Mythos Purple. We did see that on their team in the first game. So we know they don't want to let that one on through to the side of Screaming Sun. So now they have a lot of options here. There's a couple of really powerful jungle picks available. If we look at things that were banned away by the side of MP last game, the Skarner comes to mind as something that is now available, as well as maybe the Fiddlesticks was something that Screaming Sun decided to ban away, but has not been banned away this time. So maybe want to keep an eye on Mythos Purple if they're going to be looking towards maybe that Scarecrow in a little bit of a way. But that is going to be the Xayah locked on in by Screaming Sun.
I'm actually surprised by that early Xayah pick. It has a lot of counter picks that are fairly meta. Caitlyn, who just got buffed, is pretty strong against that. Ashe is also another one that comes to mind as well. And we see Fiddlesticks being hovered by MP, as you were saying, actually for the side of Screaming Suns a second ago.
Yeah, no, Screaming Sun banned that one on away in game 1, as they did not want to see the side of MP picking it up, but they had to sacrifice one of those bans for the Ujir, and it does look like it's going to be ending up going over to the side of Mythos Purple. I'm not sure where they usually play this Fiddlesticks. I would assume it's a jungler, but we do see there's some other kinds of fiddles that exist. The middle fiddle is a thing, not just a rhyme, and can in fact be played, but now going to be the Caitlyn hovered as well. As you said, that is going to be the counter pick to the Xayah, and they're going to feel pretty comfortable locking it on in.
Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward matchup. Caitlyn can easily get away from the feathers, and with her base scaling going up now too, into the late game, Xayah still struggles after like 4 or 5 items.
Yeah, and now Screaming Sun going to be picking up the Lovers duo there. They do get onto Rakan, but there's a real big problem here, and its name is Morgana. If Mythos Purple wants to lock in this R3 Morgana, it's going to make the Xayah Rakan lane really difficult to manage, and it's going to be a great duo for the Caitlyn. So this feels like a really easy Morgana lock in, and I really want to see it.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, they
Gordo
literally
no draft. Gordo no draft. Let's go.
Nice, man. And they literally, they just kind of gave him a slow pitch right there. They were asking to get counterpicked with all that CC already brought up.
Yeah, and you know that like Mythos Purple is like thinking about the Morgana pick because they banned the Morgana against the Caitlyn in the first game. So it's definitely something that was in the front of their minds. And now they get to show why they went for that ban in game 1, as now they're going to be able to lock it on in for game 2. That Olaf has been picked up by the side of Screaming Sun. They were on that in game 1, and they were able to get a pretty good early lead with it pathing wise.
I'm actually fairly surprised by the Gragas ban. I know that they did win with it game 1, but I wouldn't say that it was a big playmaker for them. And with 2 AP champions already, they would have kind of put themselves into a corner for Mythos if they would have picked 3 APs, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Just felt really pressured on it. It really did set behind that Camille, who was supposed to be the counter matchup for it. So just something they've decided they don't want to deal with here. And now it's going to be up to Mythos Purple. They're missing solo laners, assuming that Fiddlesticks isn't one of them. So they get to blind one here and counter pick the other. The traditional pick would be to blind pick mid here with something like something safe, like an Orianna. But we're going to see what they decide to go on for. Lots of picks available in the mid lane here. The Orianna, the Twisted Fate, the Azir, things that come to mind, although maybe something that you don't want to see too much in the Gold League. But always an option, and that is going to be Malphite locked in.
Yeah, it just gives them a nice little bit more CC. They're going just balls to the wall here, I think, for the side of Mythos. There's so much AoE and CC coming in from them.
Yeah, and it's usually we saw this come out of the side Cloud9 earlier on today, where you can go the B4 B5 Malphite Yasuo duo and just transform your whole comp into a hard engage comp in just like one pick. So gonna be preempted by the side of Mythos Purple, but maybe they're just slow rolling the same combos. They could go for Malphite top lane, Yasuo mid lane here. They have a good split up of AP and AD as they already have the AP jungler locked in. That would be a great pickup for them here in their R5.
I really do like this Silas pickup. This will be just
Great
complimented Mythos
Malphite
on how
counter.
good their ults are. Yeah, and it's great counter, and Silas, it's great against tanks. There's so many. He can just pick any of these ults. Is amazing for him in team fights as well.
Yeah, no, he digs the Morgana ultimate. Fiddlesticks ultimate is a little bit slower, but is something that he could steal away and make
Mhm.
happen. And now it's going to be
Hmm.
Annie as potentially the last lock-in in the mid lane here. Feels like it's going to be an abusable pick here. If you go for something with greater range, you can really punish the Annie, but I dream Yasuo dreams, Drunk Carry. I
Yeah.
can't guarantee that
Ah,
it's going to be here. It's going to be Vigar again,
he's
but this
hovering. I
time
think.
on MP. All
Yeah, it's
right.
very, very, very safe. Like you said, it outranges Annie with the cage. So
Is able to do that and is going to be able to likely farm on up against the Annie. So looks like it might very
yeah,
well
one
be locked
second.
on in
Mhm.
here, and does still have those benefits with the Malphite. After a great Malphite ultimate, you can layer down an Event Horizon to pair up with it. Great pick.
And it's unless Olaf has Ragnarok, which he'll have to blow very early against Event Horizon then, which means for the duration of some team fights, he won't even be able to just like run straight at them.
Yeah, Vigar really does appreciate some heavy lockdown coming in from his teammates, and with the Malphite in Morgana, definitely does have access to that in spades. So going to really be a lot of onus over on the support and top lane side. We're going to be looking for Nick and Northward really to be finding these great engage angles where they can lock down the opposition for extended periods of time to enable the Caitlyn, the Fiddlesticks, and the Vigar to really come through with the damage.
And I think as opposed to last game, Mythos has very strong lanes as well early because we were talking about before how they were gonna probably end up behind early on, and they did to an extent with Jin. But Caitlyn Morgana counters the lane. I think Vanguard is perfectly fine farming against Annie early, and Malphite, if he goes Comet here against Silas, it's gonna be a little bit rough, but he can take some good trades early.
Yeah, he can. The Silas counter pick really, once again, it feels like it's a great opportunity for Screaming Sun. Now, we were saying this all game last game too, and it didn't quite
Hmm.
work out for them, but it's a totally different matchup this time. Going to be looking to see if Reese's Pieces is able to generate a lead for himself with his counter picked top lane to be able to transition into the later game and really be able to come through as the great force that his team is going to need. As these are once again going to be just mirrored team fight compositions. Nobody really going too hard into split push on this game. Just going to be big AoE team fight ultimates coming through from both sides, just trying to lock the other down first. And it's really going to be up to who's able to find the angle and pull the trigger first.
Yeah, and I actually prefer these kind of lanes. We talked so much about the split push last time, but I think especially in leagues like Rampage, like there's a lot of I watch series for leagues that are like plat below, gold below, dime below, and I think these easier to accomplish AoE team fight comps make team fighting so more cohesive. It makes the idea of how to win more cohesive, because they could never line up Camille split push with them like going 1-4 at the right times last game.
Yeah, and just seeing them mirrored against each other is always something a little bit more on the unexpected side,
Hmm.
and it's always something that really just throws a wrench into the whole mix for both teams' game plans. These are the kind of compositions where you start to see double aces against each other, as just both layering down all these AOE team fight ultimates, and both is melting down through so many targets until eventually there's just two people left just throwing paper at each other until one ends up going down.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call and say we're gonna see at least one ace where it's just the support from the enemy team just standing there farming minions by himself while everyone's watching.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be something that could happen here. These are those kinds of team compositions. Also, very curious here to see how this bot lane ends up going. Zyrakan, a infamous lane dominant duo. Their champions literally designed to be played together. But Caitlyn Morgana almost similarly feels the exact same way. You have so much poke potential in that lane. You have such a huge range advantage. And if you're ever able to land Dark Binding, you're just going to get chunked for so much. You're going to take Pilt over Peacemaker. You're going to get a trap set under you. You're going to take the backup headshot. You're going to have Tormented Soil under you the whole time. And it's just really going to hurt. So you got to be on your toes to dodge out on these Dark Bindings every time they come out.
Yeah, it's just so much to have to deal with, so much to micromanage, and just one misstep against that, and you're just stuck in a 4 or 5 second stun lock.
Yeah. We are taking a little bit longer than usual to load into the game, by the way. Going to be seeing a little bit of internet resets to make sure we don't see any more of the shenanigans related to disconnects that we saw in the last game. Although those really did not seem to slow down Mythos Purple at all in game one, as they were just sometimes not even taking pauses, just rampaging through the game, disconnects or no.
Yeah, they only actually ended up killing Udyr. They were 1 for 3 in killing Udyr on disconnect, so pretty good ratio in my opinion, and better than my solo queue junglers.
Yeah, definitely here. And now just really curious to see how these two team comps end up interacting here. The mid lane matchup is another one that's pretty interesting here, as Annie generally able to get out of most lanes pretty even, and this is likely no exception. But you really want to be able to bully the Vigar and prevent him from just farming on up all day. And Annie, if she can get onto him, will have those tools. But as we already talked about, that range disadvantage does end up hurting.
So she does have a pretty nice auto attack range for a mid, so it'd be nice to see if she can get those early pokes up with that. But really, aside from that, and that's what, like 60 damage early on, Vigar should be pretty safe in this lane.
Yeah, and then Fiddlesticks jungle, something that we just don't see much of in general,
Mm-mm.
especially up against, one of the traditional meta early aggressive junglers like Olaf. You got to believe that if Olaf is able to find his pathway in there, if Redeye is able to get into the opposing jungle and tussle with the Fiddlesticks, he's going to have a great time there. So really going to be a lot of onus onto the lanes of Mythos Purple, onto this Vigar who we expect it likely to be pushed in. Malphite also kind of likely to be pushed in here, but you need to find some way to protect your Fiddlesticks and to be able to collapse if he gets invaded on, because he just cannot 1v1 Olaf. He's not that kind of champion.
Yeah, we may see a repeat of last game where Olaf could double scuttle if they correctly get if they make the right guess here and get that nice level 1 ward like they had last time. I think there should be a double scuttle situation going on.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be looking to do that, as the ban tells us that they were already kind of concerned about Eternal Cries' Fiddlesticks, and now he's been given it. He's
hmm
got the pick that was banned away last game because he went onto the Udyr and now has demanded a ban on that pick. So if he can solidify here that he's able to play, both of these champions at a high enough level to demand bans, it's going to be a great look for him coming farther on into the season. And it's going to be additionally great if they're able to win this game and advance themselves up to 3-0 in their division, as both of these
hmm
teams are coming into the day at 2-0 and looking to continue their perfect record. And for one of them, it's got to end here.
hmm Well, we've already. It's gonna go to maybe game 3, but I'd love to see that. So we're still. I think we're waiting to hear maybe Eternal Cry is still restarting his router.
Yeah, just gonna take on a little bit more here, but looking across at what ultimates Silas can steal away. Vigar now getting added to that roster of which
Mm,
ultimates can be stolen, and it's another one that feels really good to take away on Silas. Maybe not the big AOE team fight ultimate that something like a Malphite does give you, but still going to be a huge amount of single target burst, and he does still bring Silas's own AP values to these stolen ultimates. So as an AP champion himself, he's still going to be loving that primordial burst and is still going to be able to dish out a bunch of damage to execute down some of these members on Mythos Purple. Now, now just going to maybe be looking over for we've covered pretty much all five champions on
yeah,
each
yeah.
side here, but just really want to focus on in here on how the jungle matchup is going to be working on now. They really need on the side of Screaming Sun to be enabling this Olaf to get these advantages over the Fiddlesticks. The Fiddlesticks is a very good power farmer, can just clear away multiple camps at once, and can then be able to eventually start moving on into those lanes at
hmm
a pretty high level and farm advantage versus his opposing jungler, assuming that nobody's there to interrupt him. He can aggro multiple camps at once using that drain and just literally do them simultaneously with each other.
So do you, assuming that I mean everyone knows that about Fiddlesticks, do you think we're gonna see maybe a late invade here from the side of Screaming Suns, or do you think?
I think there's a variety of ways that they can choose to respond to that, and
hmm
we're gonna have to get into the real game to see. But yeah, it is, as you said, gonna come down, I think, a lot to being able to track him. If you can get the early wards down and know where he's going to be starting, then it's going to be a much easier time to interrupt him. And additionally, I think you can keep the champion selection himself in mind when doing that. You just assume that on red side, this is where Fiddlesticks thrives a little bit more because it's easier to start on your blue side because you have the bot lane there with you. So you can get that blue buff and you can make sure that you're not going to be encountering mana difficulties on the Fiddlesticks. So they're going to assume by default that he's going to be starting blue, but of course you can then try to mind game that and start red because they're going to expect you to start blue. So it really depends on this kind of rock, paper, scissors game that Eternal Cries and Redeye and their entire teams together are going to be playing with each other, as both sides know that tracking this Fiddlesticks is going to be a huge kind of mini objective that's been created by the game.
Yeah, it's definitely some mind games gonna be coming on there. So, d- hmm. So do you think, like with the Silas here, do you think he's gonna actually be able to get this lead that he was not able to get the first game? Are we gonna actually see more jungle priority on his side of the map this time, maybe? So I mean, they've already got like what you're saying to be able to push the mid lane in as well, right?
Yeah, it's really it's tough. It feels on phase tough for the Fiddlesticks just because his lanes aren't the kind of dominant lanes that you want to have to protect a hard farming jungler like this who wants to just be able to sit in his jungle uninterrupted for as long as he possibly can. I cast a Karthus jungle game earlier this week, and that's one of
Mhm,
those games where you really want to have the dominant lanes so that you can protect and back up that jungler to just enable him to hard farm the jungle all day long, keep getting those minions down, develop himself a high CS and level lead, and then come into the team fights as the powerful character later.
very, very true. Yeah, it's and people have talked to come out in the chat right now too. This draft that Screaming Suns has put for themselves, it looks like it's gonna have a lot of difficulty past the mid game, in my opinion. If it gets to late game against Caitlyn, against Malphite, against Vigar, I don't know how they pull off a win condition against this comp unless they kind of stomp early.
Yeah, they really do need to just get onto an early lead here. They need to pick up the first couple of dragons, which Olaf is incredibly adept at doing. And once they're able to do that, they just want to be able to smack around at the side of Mythos with their wallets. They want to be able to develop that lead. And once they literally have more gold than their opposition, they can then try to just win these 5v5 team fights. As we said, both team comps are going for the 5v5 fight style here, and whoever's on the front foot is going to be at a fairly large advantage as you're expecting to be able to get these engages off with both sides having access to Malphite ultimate. Whoever goes for the Malphite ultimate first and is able to burst down the opposition before the CC train ends is really guaranteed to win these fights.
Yeah, I think with vision control, with dragon fights, we're gonna see some crazy fights end in like less than 5 seconds, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what both teams are really trying to accomplish on here. So it needs to be kept in mind there. And a little bit of an advantage of that goes over to the side of Mythos, as they're the champions, or they're the team that actually has the Malphite there. So they can always have Malphite waiting around in the wings and not really have the other side be prepared.
Hmm.
Whereas Reese's has to consciously go up to Malphite, steal his ultimate, and then it's going to be known that there's only like this 90-second window where Silas can Malphite ult in. So you got to keep that in mind as the opposing team. Although Annie still and Rakan both able to really accomplish very similar things. They can group everybody up together, CC them for long periods of time, and enable the Olaf to just throw through axes and Zaya to throw through feathers and get as much damage as possible.
Hmm. And there's definitely still a chance to with Screaming Suns. People always underestimate the Silas ult range. I feel like it's 950. That's so far when you think about that, like while sieging as well.
It is really far. So as long as he's able to like literally just find himself in a lane with the opposition, he can steal it away and make the fights happen that way. But it's still something that ends up being face up. You can just call out as a North where, hey, my ultimate's been taken by Silas, and then the window is very limited. It's only about 90
Hmm.
seconds, and then there's several minutes where you can't steal away that same ultimate with Silas again at all.
Hmm.
Gonna see
So yeah,
how well the side of Mythos Purple can play on around that. But with that, we're gonna need to throw it over to a quick break here as we are finally gonna be able to get loaded on up into the game. Got some of those internet issues resolved here, but we still do need to synchronize for the stream. So not go anywhere. We're gonna be right back in just a couple of minutes.
see.
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's stream of Rampage Premade. We have got Screaming Sun Gaming here on the blue side, taking on Mythos Purple on the red side. Mythos Purple able to take a game one in a pretty convincing fashion here. So now going to see if they can close this one out or if Screaming Sun can make a comeback. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again tonight by Drunk Carry.
How's it going?
Drunk Carry, not too much going on so far.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Both teams kind of doing the same. I think whenever you see a Morgana on the other side of the team too, you want to just have that other level of safety because you never know if Caitlin's gonna wait and go trap if it's a snare.
Yeah, we want to keep our eyes open to see if a ward ends up being placed down here by the side specifically of Screaming Sun, as we know that Eternal Cries really needs to be shut down for this team comp on the side of Screaming Sun to be able to work. You need to be able to get Redeye a significant advantage over the Fiddlesticks, which he has the tools to be able to do. He has the winning lanes, he has the winning jungle matchup. He just needs to get himself into the opposing jungle, find Fiddlesticks, and punish him for his champion selection.
Yeah, and I think they actually wanted to walk over there to ward. I thought that Malphite was going to ward there or Vigar, but they ended up just warding the river instead.
Yeah, so it looks like they're not 100% sure where the Fiddlesticks has started. As I talked about, this is kind of the mind game here where you would expect the Fiddlesticks to start on blue side because of his mana cost, but he is in fact going to be starting on the red here. You can see that he's also moved on over and is going to be doing the birds simultaneously with that red buff, I do believe. No, actually, he's going one at a time here. So prioritizing the safety. Doing that does take you much lower, even though you can drain both camps at once. And it does mean that he's worried about Olaf coming in for a delayed invade and just managing to steal away one of those camps from him. So he's going to do one at a time here. Likely, though, now that he's level 2, is going to try to start up 2 camps at once on this blue buff, but it could surprise me again.
Yeah, and actually, Fiddle might have thought that the enemy team had warded because he walked around beforehand, just kind of wait out a ward timer if it did happen. But now I think he's going to double camp here, right?
You gotta believe that that's what he is going to go for here. So I'm gonna take a peek over here in the bot lane. Gotta manually adjust my camera, and yeah, he is going to start doing the Gromp and the blue buff simultaneously. So this is where his farm up really does get started in earnest. He's going to be trying to do multiple camps at once for as much of the game as he can. And there in the bot lane, we can see a little bit of the interactions we were talking about there. The Morgana Black Shield really does disable a lot of this Rakan engage and really does nullify a lot of the strengths that Xayah Rakan bring as a duo.
Yeah, I think they were actually surprised for Morgana to go Black Shield level 2. Very smart pickup there by Nick, though, because that would have been disaster for Concrete on top of him.
Yeah, and, oh, that's a big Dark Binding to land here, although doesn't seem to have access on any... Oh, traps on the side of Best Plunger, and with the Black Shield on him, he's going to end up flashing on away there. Made a little bit of miscommunication between the bot laners on the side of Mythos Purple there. So going to be no Caitlyn flash available here, but still appear to be winning out in this lane. They do have a very, very tiny CS lead, going to be up to maybe 2 here based on how the turret ends up taking down the minions, but that's about all they have to their name.
Yeah, and I'm actually very surprised that Fiddle was unopposed there with that bot side scuttle. But Amy, who we thought in pregame would be able to push out the Vigars, actually the opposite's happening right now.
Eternal Cries is going in for the invade here on the Fiddlesticks. I'm a little blown away by this one, as he might end up running into the Olaf here himself, but Olaf actually going to be taking the other path around towards those golems. So Fiddlesticks is just going to take a recall here, and he's got to feel pretty good about that. If you're able to get through your initial clear without getting interrupted by the Olaf, that's the start of a great game for your Fiddlesticks in this matchup.
Hey, he's already halfway to 6. I don't think he expected to go this smoothly, honestly.
No, you can see he was taking some interesting and non-traditional paths just to try to avoid the engage attempts that never even really came from Redeye. So maybe a little bit of a mental edge there, as the Olaf was able to go for more efficient pathing and is coming out with a CS lead, even though Fiddlesticks can do multiple camps at once. And now he's going to be going in for his first gank here onto Nick. Nick does not have access to Black Shield yet, but he does have access to Flash, which he's going to use. And now Irachi going in really hard here. Might get taken down for first blood, but does get back into the bush in time in order to save himself. But now it's going to be root after root landed on a Redeye. The build of her Peacemaker doesn't go onto the right target, but now Dallas is getting shrunk down incredibly low. The big range advantage, and now here comes Clogged Toilet. An instant double kill with the first blood from 1Q for the style points. Now chasing down onto Redeye. You gotta believe he's gonna be able to pick him up as well. This is a ridiculous start for the Vigar. He's getting so many stacks, so much HP, a triple kill for him. He's now likely going to be shut down by Reese's Pieces, but actually dodged away from Clogged Toilet and match PP, or in match Flash rather, coming in through from Reese's Pieces to finally pick up the shutdown. But that's gonna enable Northward to have free control up in this top lane to keep farming on out, and a 3-for-1 trade going to set Mythos Purple incredibly far ahead.
Yeah, good lord. He's literally 900 gold up now just from that one teleport. Beautiful. And we see the summoner's spell disadvantage here. Going to ignite on Annie, but then getting pushed out of lane early as well, too.
Yeah, and thus enabling Clogged Toilet to go for this ridiculous teleport in the bot lane. Just one Q managing to pick up a double kill for him instantly there, and that's going to give him not only that substantial gold lead that you talked about, but it's also just going to give him straight up AP from the Vigar passive. So it's really almost like he has an additional amp tome sitting in that inventory as well.
Oh man, that's absurd. I mean, I don't know, Gordo, if you've ever played Halo before. There's literally an achievement for getting 2 kills with 1 shot. And Vigar just unlocked it right there.
He sure did. If there's going back to old school League of Legends where we had the achievements tab that didn't have any achievements in it, but if it was there, Clogged Toilet, he'd be checking that one right off the box right there.
Oh man, the gank looked so good at first, but then just the extra greed from Olaf, from that Rakan going super deep as well. I'm surprised he didn't die at the beginning of that fight.
Yeah, it looks like they could have killed the Olaf straight up there too. The Piltover Peacemaker onto the trapped target would have just taken him out, but they didn't quite get it there. And now that's going to be another root landed down onto Arachi. He's just going for the re-engage. The Black Shield going to be a little bit late, so he's going to keep Eternal Cries alive. But now Arachi is just locked down by the event horizon and is going to be taken down by Clogged Toilet as well. He is a monster on this Vigar, and now it is going to be marching on back to mid lane with 4 kills. Mowgli going to be waiting around to try to trap him here, but I'm not entirely sure how great that 1v1's even going to go. Mowgli likely going in for the engage down here. The direct camera not showing it to me quite yet. And now here comes the flash engage. That's going to be the flash tippers followed up with the ignite, and that's likely going to take down this Vigar. Can't trade back without the ultimate and is going to be shut down by Mowgli.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he had the damage of that just with the Lost Chapter, but that shows Mowgli's mastery of Annie. He was not letting him get away. Even after getting hit by the cage, he just flashed right over. We got
the trade back in the top lane from Northward with the ultimate, but Reese's Piece is going to be able to take it on back. Has more damage, has more AP, and is able to win the fight as a result. And now it is going to be another snare landed onto Mowgli as Nick has come on all the way up from the bot lane to try to make this play happen. But there's a little bit of an advantage in the top lane for Reese's Pieces. That's what we were looking for. And now maybe we'll enable Redeye to be able to use those top lane advantages to bully this Fiddlesticks.
Yeah, and look at the gold just swing right back. They were down by almost 2,500 there, and literally getting the shutdown and the kill top. We are tied at gold again.
We're tied at gold across the map, but where the gold is very important here, and a lot of it is onto Clogged Toilet on this Vigar. And what's really going to matter on Vigar is he's a stat check champion. So what's really going to matter is thresholds. If he can EQW ult you and you're dead, then you have no chance. Or in later thresholds, if he can just Q ult you and you're dead, then it's all over. The carries have no opportunities once Clogged Toilet reaches that point. So going to be looking to avoid that here. Now it looks like Eternal Cries might be looking for an interesting dive down here in the bot lane. He will get the double fear as he is not spotted out. That ward is not going to keep them safe as Eternal Cries has already snuck on in here. He hasn't started channeling the ultimate yet, but he's likely going to do so soon. He comes on out, he starts channeling it as Morgana is tanking up the turret, goes into the zone, he has to keep himself alive, and so much damage coming through from the Fiddlesticks here, going to enable him to pick up that kill, but he's going to get traded on back by Redeye. Unfortunately, that kill does end up getting picked up by Arachi, and now Olaf just has to try to turn around this fight. He goes on to Best Plunger and is able to pick him up, but Clogged Toilet once again showing up in this bot lane for his kills of the minute here, and going to be picking up another one there onto the Olaf, just pops the ultimate, picks him up, sitting at 5 kills now.
Good lord. Yeah, I don't even know if he's a mid laner anymore. Like, every time we look at that, he's the new carry in the bot lane.
Yeah, no, he's got those Swifty boots to get on down there faster, because see, this bot lane is a buffet for this Vigar. He just keeps on going down there, getting more and more kills every time and setting himself up increasingly far ahead. He's got a 20 CS deficit, but that's only because he keeps showing up bot lane to get more kills.
And it doesn't matter, just like first game with Jhin, he's farming champions yet again. We look at the gold lead, he's up 900 still consistently across the board. Annie is just not been able to get any roams off. This top lane has been perma-shoved by Sylas, so that leaves Annie just stuck in the mid lane.
Yeah, and it's Vigar also, we just got to keep in mind, like it's like he has a collector all the time because he's getting additional gold value from every kill because his passive is giving him permanent AP with every kill. So he's sitting on 80 bonus AP here at about 10 minutes. Not actually a crazy huge amount, maybe just likely hasn't been picking up too much on in the CS department, but still has about 100 bonus AP just off of this.
Yeah, it's like 2 blasting wands right there. Like, it's still absurd.
no, it's some of it's just Vigar being nuts. The champion's balanced around the fact that he's going to have more AP than anybody else. But still, that's a substantial snowballing lead that regular champions like Annie just don't have access to. And Clog Toilet, with that in his pocket, is going to be looking to just chain that and
They have a
snowball that
catch here.
into more and more advantages. And now maybe a little bit of a catch here onto Redye. He is going to be forced to blow the Ragnarok and back on out of there.
Yeah, and just kudos to Eternal Cries. Again, in another lane that we thought would be behind early. He's only down 5 CS in a pretty tough matchup. And he's looking to start the Dragon as well.
Yeah. Whoa! Mowgli roaming on up there, but the Tibbers gets flashed away from by Northward, and then he uses the Unstoppable Force to escape. That is a huge move by the top laner of Mythos Purple. That is going to stop the snowball of the Annie and the Silas by preventing them from getting that kill, and he's going to be able to just take a recall here and teleport back.
Yeah, just super well played there. Just not waiting for a second to ult away and just giving them nothing for all their time wasted.
Yeah, no, and they're going to get the Dragon for that, too, in the pocket of Eternal Cries. And we talked about this. This is Olaf. This is the Olaf early game snowball comp that's got to bully the Fiddlesticks out of the entire game. But Eternal Cries just got the first Dragon, and it's sitting here at only the 400 gold deficit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it tends towards, if you look at the vision score as well, I mean, we know Fiddlesticks is going to throw down his clones and get wards, but I haven't seen a single pink ward bought yet by Redye. He bought the cooldown reduction boots, but has only been in one real fight as well, so that hasn't really paid off for him. They just aren't tracking this Fiddle at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's also, like, a lot of that's just from placing the wards down and spotting targets in the first place, because the Scarecrows don't start scanning out opposing wards until level 6. So he's only been doing that for a couple of minutes, but already has such a substantial vision lead, which just shows he's been placing the Scarecrows in very smart positions and been spotting people out with them.
Their bot just barely gets away there. Oh, or do they?
The flash ultimate on the Morgana, gonna end up picking the kill up onto Dallas. That's just that's a little bit of style points there, as it's gonna be the kill picked up for that support. 100% KP, by the way, on this Morgana is Nick. He's having a great game down here, and now Clog Toilet and Mowgli the Cat going to be going in onto each other. Once again, the Tippers is going to get the stun here, but here's the ultimate flash from Eternal Cries, as well as the roam down from Northward just to get his name on there, as they're gonna be able to pick up that kill onto the opposing mid laner.
Yeah, and you've got to think that they can feel the clock ticking for their comp, right?
Yeah, for sure. You really wanted to be snowballing dragons. We were talking about this in the pregame, and while we were in the loading screen and off stream, that the side of Screaming Sun just really needs to make things happen this game, and the only place things are really happening is going to be in that top lane. We can see Reese's Pieces has opted for an interesting choice in the Leandri's Anguish, but is sitting 2-0, does have a gold lead for himself of about 1K, can bully around this Malphite, and really going to have a lot of onus on himself to be able to find these advantages. The Malphite is not really in a position to survive his engages. He's not itemizing very much towards magic resist. Instead is going towards this early Oblivion Orb, excuse me. And if he's going to be this damaged Malphite, he's going to likely be able to turn himself into a bit of a side lane threat and maybe get some pressure across the map for his team that way, so that they can get back onto these dragons and get back onto plan.
Yeah, I wonder too if he had built that just because anyone that's ever played against the Silas knows just how much regen he has built into his kit. So I guess instead of going for a Bramble Vest, he wanted that extra damage and the the Grievous Wounds on there. So I'm interested to see if he keeps building the item or just goes full.
There we go.
MR
He gets
here.
in there, steals away the Malphite ultimate on cooldown, gets onto Northward, and is able to take him down. Reese's Piece is going to really be the protagonist here, as he needs to be able to make this play happen. But Eternal Cries is getting out there with the ultimate onto Mowgli, but now it gets turned around on with the Tibbers. Could potentially go for the 1v2 here, but there's just too much damage on this Fiddlesticks, or on this Vigar, rather, as he's just going to be able to take him on down.
Yeah, and Annie went for Boost of Lucidity instead of finishing up her first item, so didn't have that burst like Vigar does with his Ludens.
Yeah, and now that is going to be another engage coming out of the bot lane. The Zyricon duo trying to do as much as they can, but the Black Shield making a huge difference there, and that is going to be the follow-up stun coming in from the Morgana ultimate. Those Tormenting Chains going to be doing quite a bit, but neither target actually going to go down here. Here comes Ace in the hole. Not going to be quite enough damage, though. Rakan going to block that one out for his girlfriend.
See, they almost could have turned that. Xayah was getting dangerously close to getting her E back up, being able to recall those 3 feathers behind Caitlyn. But I think both teams have fully committed to the fight there. 1 or 2 more seconds and they would have gotten the shutdown on Caitlyn.
Yeah, and we noticed that a lot of these stuns and snares landed by Morgana aren't actually getting converted into trap combos by Best
Hmm.
Plunger, and that's really given actually a little bit of free breathing room over to the lovers duo down here up against them. As if they were getting these headshot combos off of it, they would be taking a lot more damage at every one of these
Here comes
unfortunate
Olaf.
trades. But now here comes Redeye coming on in with the Ragnarok, trying to make the fight happen. He is able to pick up onto Nick, but now it is Vygar here trying to make the difference. Vygar trying to kite it on out here, gets a double stun here as Best Plunger is able to finish up on the other side. Now Reese's Pieces trying to carry the fight. He's the most powerful member of his team, but he is going to get shut down as well. A double kill ends up going over to Caitlyn. A flash forward onto Dallas. Crit's coming on through, trying to get the slows, doesn't have them, and therefore he is going to be able to escape there. But that is a favorable fight in the bot lane for Mythos Purple.
Yeah, that looked like maybe a chance for Screaming Suns there, but then Malphite coming in like a speedy boy with his teleport ult as well. There was no way they're gonna be able to finish that fight off well.
Yeah, no, and that might even end up costing them another dragon here as Redeye is just respawning, but there's 11 seconds left on the Earth Drake. They really need to be able to get down here and contest on this. Eternal Cries is getting an unfortunate trade against him in the mid lane, so they might still have an opportunity to start stacking up some of these dragons.
I mean, he's just gonna drain up the minions as well. And it looks like the team's gonna convert over to Dragon.
God, they really likely do need to contest this though over on the side of Screaming Sun. I don't know if you're a big Magic the Gathering or any card player, Drunk Carry, but there's a concept there that we talk about in Magic called who's the beat down, and which side just needs to be constantly accelerating the game and identifying which side that is. And Screaming Sun are the aggro team comp here. They are the aggro deck, and they don't get to just decide that, oh, I'm controlling now. I can just sit back and wait for the other team to stack dragons and then contest them later. You're the more aggressive team comp the entire game, and things are only going to get worse for you as you're starting to lose out on these dragons. So you need to start finding these angles to start contesting on these.
Oh yeah, just like in Magic, the amount of resources, the amount of attrition you have as an aggro team comp, it just gets worse and worse as the game goes on. You're just gonna get outscaled. You're gonna get outplayed in most of these fights as well.
Exactly. This is just these are the best opportunities they're ever going to have, and I know they don't look good, but they're not going to get any better. So they need to start making things happen, and they just aren't being able to find their opportunities. This next dragon, if that ship hasn't already sailed, they really need to start stacking them up at any given point. They need to go for this next Rift Herald. They need to keep getting objectives, keep getting gold in their pockets. They're only behind a little bit under 3K here, and they could still find opportunities to get some big picks, get some big shutdowns, get themselves back in the game.
Oh, definitely. But it's just over and over. I think it's the second time this game that the Ragnarok's been used defensively to get away, just like in the last game as well.
Yeah, not what you want to be seeing here in this matchup, as the Fiddlesticks now has gotten himself up a couple more kills, is sitting out here, still a little bit down in gold, but does have access to that stopwatch to keep making these engages happen. Now, it's going to be an ultimate coming through on Reese's Pieces. They're tracing on down to him. They flash forward with the Fiddlesticks, so he can't escape, and he's going to get taken down by Eternal Cries. Nice knowledge of his ranges there. Once again, going for the ult channel into immediate flash to get somebody on the edge of the ultimate range. Great champion knowledge.
Yeah, and we see now why they banned Eternal Cries Fiddlesticks almost immediately.
Oh, that's a big flash engage from the Annie, though, getting 3 targets following up with the ultimate from Rakan. They're going to get a shutdown onto the opposing jungler. Now Nick is likely going to go down as well. He is going to trade back onto Mowgli, but be taken down on the backside by the Olaf. And now they are going to be able to pick up that triple kill in a 2-for-3 trade all in all. That's the best fight they've had all game. They're going to be real happy with it, and they're going to start marching on down mid lane to get their first turret.
Yeah, I would love to see them go mid lane and go straight over to Rift here. Really, God, what a perfect time to catch them with their pants down pretty much from the side of Mythos. They were just trying to get those last few hits on the tower, and he just gets a massive ult. What was that, 3 shutdowns there as well?
Yeah, something like that, and that's exactly what we were just talking about, Drunk Carry, is they don't stop being the aggro team comp. They need to stay aggressive, they need to stay accelerating, because they need to abuse the fact that they are the more powerful early game team comp, and they need to get themselves a gold lead to offset the scaling advantages that exist on the side of Mythos.
If we look across the board, we actually have 2 bounties now for Screaming Suns, even though they're still behind in the game. And if we look at their carries right now, Xayah is very, very behind. She's only got those two swords, but you look at the top lanes, all the solo laners actually have a fair bit of gold on them.
Yeah, they were able to get their advantages early, as we talked about in Champions. Like, they had the winning lanes, and they were able to at least get an advantage there. But now Reese's Pieces is gonna not get hit by the Dark Binding there, and thus is going to force his opposition to get on out of there. Eternal Cries is here for backup. Reese's did steal away the Fiddlesticks ultimate, but it is now timed out, so not going to be able to use that, and not going to have it available for this Rift Herald fight, which means that Mythos Purple are going to be able to keep extending their lead and going to be able to pick this one up for themselves.
Yeah, they had a short window where they could have ran straight over to the Rift Herald after taking that mid tower for Screaming Suns, but they opted instead to just get Vision and Recall, so they kind of just handed that Rift Herald to them.
Yeah, now going to be Baron spawning on up here in just about 12 seconds. That Rift Herald was picked up at the very end of its timer, and they could likely just look to drop it on down somewhere pretty soon in order to enable him to take, we'll have to believe it's for the third dragon, probably.
Mhm. So now that we've reached about 20 minutes, but you wait on Dragon to come up. What would you like to see, kind of progression wise, win condition wise, from Mythos right now? Kind of like while they're waiting for Dragon.
Well, the world is their oyster. They just need to not end up getting picked off and not end up like giving the opposing team a pathway back into the game. They're already stacking up on their dragons. Even if they end up with unfortunate positioning around one of these next few dragons, I think the important thing is going to be, in much the same way we were talking about for Screaming Sun, it's to recognize your role in the game, recognize that you're going to be scaling up and you're going to get more powerful as this game goes on. You have the better scaling top bot laner, you have the better scaling jungler, you have the better scaling mid laner. You'll eventually be able to win these team fights regardless, as long as the other team gets too far ahead. So you can afford to give them maybe one Ocean Drake, maybe two Ocean Drakes if you have bad positioning. But of course, you'd rather keep stacking them up for themselves, so they are going to be looking to set up around these. And they are going to get some pretty good vision laid on down here. So as long as they have this positioning, they should be able to force onto it. Now looks like we are indeed going to be waiting for it to spawn. It is going to be about 5 seconds here. That's a good position around for Mythos Purple. They've got the pink ward in the pit. They're clearing away the opposing wards. They have some wards set up on the entrances coming out from the other side. They don't have one in that bottom try, which might be the way that Screaming Sun is able to get on in here. They don't really know that Annie's waiting around there, but they're waiting in the bottom push from the ocean map just to punish that. Eternal Cries is waiting around here. He's entered his passive form where he's pretending to be one of the scarecrows, the effigies as they're called. And that is going to enable him to get that fear if he's able to find it, but it doesn't look like that's even going to be. They're just waiting. They expect them to come in through the one way that they don't have vision, because they don't see them the other way, but now they see them on the other ward, so they know where they are, and they're going to move around and try to get started. They aren't even starting up the dragon here, which is a little bit questionable, as they know the opposition doesn't have vision in there because they have the pink ward. So really, you would expect them to just get it started up, but they've actually lost their pink ward now and had it traded back on. So now, just going to get forced away from it a little bit, and this is what I was talking about. Now that they're getting forced away, now that they don't have the numbers, they don't have North where they want them to be, they can afford to give up this dragon.
Yeah, and Reese's still has Malphite ult. They're looking to get the engagement. I think they've got to just go and pull the trigger here.
Yeah, they're going to throw down the Rift Herald in mid lane. A little bit late on that, but they are going to do so. And now here comes the engage from Reese's Pieces, but they are just going to try to cut it on back. They do get the Dark Binding here, and with nobody to back him up, Reese's Pieces is way in the wrong side of dodge here. But now here comes a big engage opportunity. They're going to be landing multiple RCCs onto multiple targets, and they're going to just melt through all of them. A triple kill instantly picked up for Dallas. 4 members already dead. Nick is the only member left alive. He's trying to run back into the other team's base. He's going to get taken down here as well. And this is the disaster we were talking about. It's one thing to give up the dragon. It's another thing to give up the entire dragon and a 5-for-0 ace.
Oh my god, the combination there with Mowgli and then with Arachi coming straight at them. What a man Mowgli's playing right now. That was an insane 4-man stun on top of the Rakan, and then just the feathers cleaning up to get the gold on their member with the least kills right now.
Yeah, and that's what Screaming Sun needed to do. So now they can transition to Baron as well, and just like that, they're back in the game. They're back on plan. They aren't as close to the Dragon Soul as they would have liked to be, but they're going to be picking up the first Baron. They're going to be ballooning themselves to a 4 or 5k gold lead, and that's where you want to be as the aggressive team comp up against the scaling team comp. This is the position that they wanted to be in at the beginning, and while they took a very windy and twisted path to get here, they've gotten here.
Yeah, Screaming Suns might as well change their team name to GameStop, because they literally just hit their highest highs after bouncing under their lows right there. That was an insane gold swing.
Yeah, and you know, we're going to the moon here, Drunk Carry.
Oh yeah.
Now the entire game has been turned around here. Like I said, the only thing that Mythos needed to do was not get picked off and lose a huge fight over the dragon. And that is exactly what happened here. So now they have to reevaluate everything here. They aren't in control anymore. The world is no longer their oyster. It's incredibly dangerous for them to be stepping out into inappropriate locations now. They need to keep their carries safe. They need to keep on farming up, and they need to just make sure that Mythos doesn't run away with the entire game. Now, luckily, they did still get the first 2 dragons, so Mythos is very far away from being able to pick up the soul. So they can afford, again, to give up maybe even another dragon if they need the time to keep farming and scaling up in order to eventually find the fights that they want to have.
And they do have range from the Caitlyn still. They do have the constant annoying poke, from Morgana Q. They have a chance, especially if for some reason Annie keeps doing a 1-3-1 here and Annie does not have teleport. They could find a 4v3 fight mid.
Yeah, and now Eternal Cry is going to be spotting on out onto the opposing support, but doesn't have too much backup, so we're going to just have to let him get on out of there. Now, they just need to survive out this Baron now. They're just going to wait around for a little bit and make sure that they don't lose too much here. They likely should even be able to protect up their middle turrets, or the inner turrets, rather, and just try to farm it on out and make sure that they do not get picked off by this opposing team comp, by this Annie CC, by this Rakan CC, and making sure that they don't, of course, get four-manned by the Rakan yet again
here.
in order to be taken down. But now Redeye going to be caught out here a little bit. He does pop the Ragnarok to escape, and that's just going to be the end of that. Both teams going to back on off.
Yeah, I'm still very surprised that Annie's split pushing here. You would think, with how much she's been the catalyst in these team fights with this damage as well, a 1-4 would make perfect sense, no?
Oh, 1-4 really would, and is something that they can definitely go for. Reese's Pieces is incredibly powerful here on this Sylas, and it would be very comfortable sitting in a side lane on his own as long as he can manage his vision correctly and make sure that he doesn't get collapsed on by multiple members. Although that is what happened in that Dragon fight there, and he was able to buy just enough time into Zhonya's Hourglass that the rest of his team were able to find their engage and were able to win the fight.
Yeah, Malphite's just so far behind because he had to buy that Oblivion Orb early. He just recently completed his Frostfire when we're seeing second item almost going on to third here as well for Sylas.
Yeah, and it's really up to how Mythos are able to set up their fight lines from now on. As now that they're on the back foot, they need to play like it. They need to make sure that they, as the disengaged comp, are just kind of waiting for the side of Screaming Sun to pull the trigger, and that they don't get baited into anything too ridiculous without it. If they're able to get nice picks with the Malphite ultimate or with the Morgana, then they can go for it, but they need to be very careful to make sure that they aren't overcommitting, because that's the cases where you wind up with your relatively immobile Caitlyn and Vigar getting engaged on, and when that happens, like it did in the Dragon fight, they can lose these fights.
Oh, definitely. And look at the vision control right now as we've got a little bit low in the game. It's a tale of two stories here. Top side is lit up from red team, but they have no control over objectives right now with their vision. Like you were saying, if they do get picked, their mobile champion's going to get done for, and I'm a little bit worried with their vision line right now.
I'm also a little bit worried that they're going to get baited by their own dragon count, because this is usually where the aggressive team comps find themselves. They get the first two dragons, and then the difficult part of the game is converting into the third and fourth and getting the soul so that you can snowball the game. That is not the position that Mythos Purple are in. They are the scaling team comp. The fact that they were able to get these first two dragons was a gift from the Olaf from some misplays that occurred earlier. But if they get baited by their own first two dragons here and feel like, oh no, we're losing control of the dragon game, we need to get in there and get on a soul point and keep stacking them up, then that's how they end up biting off more than they can chew and losing the fight.
Yeah, and it looks like they're, like you're saying, it looks like they're falling into their own trap here. I predict a fight to go on here pretty soon. They just keep dancing around each other.
They do have good positioning, though. This is okay. They're able to move on up here. They're able to set down the vision, and as long as they are able to prevent themselves from getting crazy engaged on, that's a little bit of a suspicious little bit of a sus face check there coming out from Eternal Cries, but he rightly realizes that he's not really exactly where he should be and can get on out of there. Now, here's a stun landed on a Redeye. He might be forced here. Now, here comes the ultimate coming from Reese's Pieces. He's stolen it away from the Malphite. Now, here comes the ultimate from the Fiddlesticks. He goes on into the stasis and is trying to make it happen, but they're all fighting in a corridor, and they're all going to be taken down as a result. The Annie and the Xayah damage in that really tiny ramp is just too high. They're able to melt through the entire enemy team comp. Once again, a 5-for-0 ace for the side of Screaming Sun. They're going to be able to move this onto the Dragon. They already have their AD carry picking it up, and they're going to start to move into the base. They're going to look to take up an inhibitor here at minimum.
And they had just played right into the hands of Screaming Suns right there. Getting into that corner, like you had said, is just asking to die against Rakan.
Yeah, no, they had the moment where they were fanned out in the river and they had the vision control. That's where they needed to stay. That's where they needed to take their fight lines. The only person who's allowed to fall back there is Eternal Cries to channel his ultimate and make sure that he gets the fears. When they all funnel on in there, they enable themselves to get engaged on by the Rakan, who, by the way, didn't even have to flash to get in and get that massive multi-man charm. So he's able to just run wild over the entire team, follow it up with the huge amounts of damage in those small locations from the Annie and from the Xayah that enables, once again, for Screaming Sun to win the fight.
And honestly, League is so much like chess where it's not, we see the big moves like queen takes queen, right? But these little moves like the pawn moves beforehand, if we look 10 seconds back before that, when you had said that Fiddle should not have been invading in that little face check, Nick had to put a Black Shield on him. Black Shield's cooldown timer is very, very long. As soon as they saw Black Shield go down, Silas just ran straight to the enemy team with his Malphite ult.
Yeah, and also they just need to be conscious of the Malphite ultimate. Like if you just wait a little while, that Malphite ultimate's going to expire, and then you
Mhm.
can't get engaged on like that by Reese's Pieces. But they're able. The angle happens. They get engaged on. They get taken out, and now they're at such a huge gold deficit that they're no longer in the favorable position that they started out this game at. Now Mythos is, or Screaming Sun rather, is far and away in the position that they started out this game hoping to be in. They wouldn't have expected that this is the way that they got there, but they're there nonetheless. And now it should be they can continue to play this out in an appropriate manner, and they don't need any kind of crazy miracle plays to be able to close it out.
Oh yeah, they just have so much damage on their Fed carries right now. A catch on anyone is death. Even Malphite has no magic resistance against their team. Look how much magic damage they have.
Yeah, no, the Malphite has started to itemize a little bit more towards. He's got the Negatron cloak for himself in order to try to stay alive. There's that verdant barrier over on the clogged toilet, but that is not going to be enough against huge amounts of damage coming through.
Yeah, they can just pretty much wait here, get the vision control, keep clearing wards, like allow the rinse repeat until they finally find a catch here. Because over time, they're just gonna keep forcing their hand around this Baron pit.
Yeah, certainly are, certainly can, and that's what their next objective should be. They just want to get some good vision control down so that they can start setting up around this Baron, and if they can find some face checks from the members of Mythos Purple, they'll be able to get some nice free picks there as a result. Only Nick is able to protect some members from that, but they do know that he's in the bot lane now, as Reese's has been able to catch him on out, so that is going to signal to the other members of Screaming Sun that they can move on forward into this opposing jungle, that they can get some vision down around the Baron and potentially look for a fight.
Yeah, and they've got a small window here, actually, if Mythos was looking for a pick. Zaya ran all the way from Baron to Krugs to get that
All right, may have lost a little bit there, but now we are going to be moving on up, seeing some setup for the Baron over here as going to be the side of Mythos Purple once again, just looking to make sure that they do not lose too much vision control here, as they do not want to end up giving up another Baron to Screaming Sun. The door is not closed on them quite yet, although they do find themselves at a significant gold disadvantage after back-to-back horrific team fights for them. 5-0, the worst way you could possibly lose a team fight. It has now happened to them twice in a row and cost them pretty much everything that they were able to build up.
And the fact you hate to see it when this happens. The fact that they got the first two dragons and then it became Ocean Soul, one of the most annoying souls in the game. If it gets to that point, imagine dealing with an Olaf and a Silas with Ocean Soul.
Yeah, no, at that point, that's going to be the way that you really transition your early game team comp into somebody that can actually win in the late game, is you end up picking up that soul and the massive amounts of gold you get from the soul itself end up being able to leapfrog you above even those scaling team fight comps and guaranteeing that you're able to pick up the Elder, be able to pick up the Baron, able to get those epic buffs in your inventory and be able to win as a result. But we can see now that it is going to be the Baron being started up by the side of Mythos. They do have the advantage here vision-wise. It's not clear that Screaming Sun are 100% aware that this is going down, but they do start moving on over, and as soon as they see them, Mythos Purple has to back away.
Yeah, it's worth a try there. They did say 3 bottom, but just a great teleport to get in there, just get them right off it. And now they just reset, and the enemy, with them resetting, they're just going to have to concede this dragon as well.
Likely, and that does mean that they have to move on away here. The dragon's up in 20 seconds. They do know this, but I would not like to see the side of Mythos Purple just try to face check onto this dragon and force it again. They're not going to be able to win a fight under those circumstances. They need to be able to get there first, and if they aren't able to do so, it's going to be very bad for them. And we can see now that the members of Screaming Sun are already kind of setting up for this. They're already getting ready for the dragon to spawn, and they're already ready to pounce if a member of Mythos tries to face check.
Yeah, I would like to see Morgana lead the way with Nick. He's got the Black Shield, he's got the Zanyas. If they are going to face check, he hasn't been the one to do it yet.
Yeah, they're moving over to Baron, but they've waited too long for this. They took the recall earlier, so now it looks like the members of Screaming Sun are already going to be in the mid lane. They're already going to be ready for this, and now they're just going to have to back away and defend. That is now Soul Point picked up for the side of Screaming Sun in an incredible comeback game thus far.
Yeah, it's insane swings on this. And you have the Malphite ult yet again, so there's, like you said, that timer. They finish for the next minute. Mythos can't even walk up to them.
Yeah, they need to be very careful here about these huge engage ultimates that can come out from Arachi, from Mowgli, and from Reese's. They need to be very careful to hope that at least one of those expired. Perhaps one of them were able to get the timer when Northward had his ultimate stolen. But that's not going to be enough here. As we can see, they are advancing on forward, maybe get a little bit of poke damage under Redie, but he's pretty tanky here on this Olaf and shouldn't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, they're just a little bit there. I want to talk about itemization a little bit here. We're seeing a completely different Caitlyn build than when we saw last game. We've got the Collector, we've got the Rapid Fire Cannon. I guess they could be trying to burst down Silas, which is a big concern for them.
Oh, Nick is going to find out himself face checking though, although the ultimate does get blown onto the black shield, but it melts through it right away and enables follow-up CC. Now they're going to be going in farther onto Clogged Toilet. He's already used his ultimate. Northward has flashed on in, does have access to the ultimate as well. He is going to use it as soon as he can, but only gets to knock up on a one target. He's going to get melted through as well. That's 3 members already taken down. Only Eternal Cries and Best Plunger are left alive, and he's getting chased down even farther. Another Q comes in through from the Annie to chunk him even lower. Tibbers is chasing him even farther back, and now there's only 2 members left to defend against the assault from Screaming Sun, who are already taking down the mid inhibitor and looking to move on to the base.
Yeah, we had talked about that, just that one catch they need, and they just dove in so hard.
Yeah,
they're gonna keep going here.
Channeling that ultimate, but Reese's is doing the exact same thing, and we're gonna have multiple surprise parties occurring here as Plunger is finally going to be able to take down the top laner on the opposing side, but they've already lost so much of their base. They end up losing the inhibitor turret and are just able to protect their Nexus turrets.
So yeah, they're gonna just go ahead and reset here, look for vision. They've got to be careful though, because if they do get caught in a bad reset here, they could look for a Baron.
Yeah, got to be very careful not to bite off more than they can chew. So they do get back into the river. They pick up the Scuttle Crab, and they are going to start taking some recalls here. And this is where you start to get into a little bit of desperation territory for Mythos Purple. They got to be careful not to give up this Baron, as their base is very vulnerable. But they also have to be careful not to give up Dragon Soul, as that is going to set them behind permanently. And they have to keep their base pushed out because they've lost their mid inhibitor. So a lot to juggle for that side here. They are going to be starting up onto this Baron, trying to use that recall timer to make the difference here. But they're coming back out so quickly, and already we can see that Redeye is coming on through, but Redeye might not realize how close the Baron is to dead. He's just getting CC'd up, and he's not using the Ragnarok, so the Baron going to end up going to the side of Mythos Purple. Excellently played by them there, taking advantage of the lack of vision control by their opposition. They saw that the Scuttle Crab had been taken, but the Scuttle does not give vision of the Baron itself. They didn't realize how low it already was.
Yeah, and they had actually, instead of opting to recall after that fight, they ran all the way through the enemy jungle. They ran through their topside jungle as well. They actually faked recalls, hoping that they wouldn't start the Baron. But like you said, they didn't have adequate vision. They just got bursted down so quickly. Really, really smart play by Mythos.
Yeah, very smart play there to be able to sneak away the Baron, but now that's not going to solve all of their woes quite yet. They do need still to worry about that Baron, or the Dragon Soul point that is going to be coming up here in just a couple of minutes, and the Baron alone is not going to be enough to guarantee them the win of that fight. But what it can do is allow them to start pushing out some of these waves, start pushing back, especially the mid wave with that down inhibitor, and enable them to at least have a fighting shot to contest at this Dragon.
And there's no one answering the Silas split push yet, and Silas does have teleport. He's gonna knock down this tower, and Malphite's finally starting to respond.
Yeah, Malphite coming on around here, as they do have the backup from Nick here on their support Morgana to make sure that he's a little bit safer. But they do really have to be concerned about this Dragon at about a minute. Both sides need to start fighting over vision control incredibly soon to make sure that they're going to be able to secure it for their side.
He does end up taking that tower, just with the minions there as well. Caitlin's gonna end up getting red buff. I still think just another time, getting to the dragon fight is gonna be so hard, even with Baron for Mythos.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be. The Baron does not give you quite enough combat stats to guarantee that you can just AFK walk at the opposition. Although they do have the Morgana Black Shield for that opportunity, but that's just going to be a one-shot coming through onto Eternal Cries from the Annie. Just finds himself on the wrong side of the Tibbers and is going to be taken down instantly. That's going to erase pretty much any opportunity they had to take away that Dragon, that Soul, and that does mean that it's likely going to be Soul going over to the side of Screaming Sun.
Yeah, he just walked straight. Oh man, he just got caught with the one part with no vision, and then locally just showing his mastery of the champion, knew that he could burst down even a Fiddlesticks with that.
Yeah, just melts right on through him here, and that is going to guarantee his team this Dragon Soul. And with the Ocean Soul picked up, it feels like it's almost all over but the Screaming for the side of Screaming Sun Gaming, as they are just going to be able to advance into the base and now have so much permanent combat power to continue winning these fights that they've already been winning.
Yeah, Silas looking for a recall. He's gonna have teleport here. I think they just brute force it down bot side.
Yeah, they are certainly going to be marching on through here. They do have that mid inhibitor already down. Now going to be looking to close it on out with one more clean fight. Eternal Cries has respawned here on the Fiddlesticks. He's going to need some crazy ultimates here to be able to deal enough damage to get his team the fight win. We also saw Clogged Toilet has just been stopped here. He was at 5-1 at one point in this game, and he has just been repeatedly dove on and taken down over and over again, was not able to keep that Vigar snowball going, and now is quite vulnerable to being jumped on by many members of Screaming Sun. He's going to need to play these fights incredibly well to be able to keep himself safe and keep dishing out damage. That's just the situation for nearly every member of Mythos Purple here, as their Malphite is just not tanky enough to be able to frontline for them effectively. Their Fiddlestick's not much of a frontliner himself, and Nick just against all these AP targets with the Silas and the Annie just cannot keep the Black Shield on anybody to keep them safe for very long.
So it looks like Silas might be able to catch Fiddle here. They just not a vision of him. Oh, he just walks away.
Yeah, and just going to be continuing to move on forward as both targets going to be looking potentially just push on in here. They have their soul, but they look like they might just be waiting for the next Baron to really be able to go for something. They can't get their waves synchronized to be able to make this push happen. Now, Redeye going to face check here a little bit, going to get Dark Binding up, but he does have access to the Ragnarok, does finally pop it just to run on out of there. That's going to be Ragnarok blown for nothing. A very small win picked up for the side of Mythos Purple, waiting for this next team fight to get started. Nick has to be careful not to get caught on out here. He is going to fire over the Dark Binding and just run on away with his Black Shield.
I think there's kind of like a 5-man here that's got an open inhibitor. And yeah, even though they do blow Ragnarok, it's on, what, a 45-second cooldown by the time you're level 16. That's not a big detriment to the side of Screaming Suns.
No, not too much for them here, and they are now just going to be setting up these waves. Once again, they need to get them on synchronized so that they can try to start crashing in some and try to start taking down some turrets, but just can't get them quite the way that they want them to, though. So they need to just either find an angle for a fight or wait for the Baron to respawn. We're about a minute away from the latter, so it seems like that might be the situation we're waiting for.
Yeah, I think getting to this point of the game, I don't think either team expected their teamfight comp to get to 41 minutes. Now, one lost fight means a huge objective off the map, and whoever gets that is going to end up winning the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is likely going to be the case, as the Screaming Sun are very close to being able to close this one out. They only need that last big purple worm to be able to make sure that they can push on through and finish off this base. Their inhib that they took down in the mid lane has already respawned, and without that, they just don't feel like they have a lot of good angles here. They need to find somebody bunched up to be able to finish them off 5-0, as there's a lot of engage on the other side, but they are going to get an engage here onto the Morgana. They are going to take him down right away, but now Reese's Pieces finds himself alone, but that's a big flash. Timbers come through onto 2 targets. They're going to immediately melt down through Flesh Plumber, and therefore they cannot do the team fight any longer. The Caitlyn's already been taken down, as have all the other members. Clog Toilet is the last member alive, but he's going to get dived on by everybody here, as they're going to be able to finally finish him off. Dallas picks up a double kill for himself. They're going to take down this mid inhibitor, and they're going to take down the base as they win the 3rd fight in a row, 5-0.
Yeah, just a great... and the last 2 fights have always been just with Silas with the Malphite ult. They're just not tracking him, and that just made everything else tumble down for that clean 5-0.
Yeah, Screaming Sun with a big comeback here from the early game, going to force us to game 3 here. Excellently played by them. They're able to just come back from an unfortunate start by them. The Vigar had gotten so far ahead, but they're just able to find their perfect team fights over and over and over again in order to just melt through everybody before that gold started to make a difference, in order to move the gold and the entire map back into their favor.
Yeah, great patience there. I've got a hands off there to Arachi. Really, the game flipped on those 2 fights where Rakan got the ult. They got bunched up. Then Annie just got out of control. So much damage. Great execution of their team comp.
Yeah, Mowgli and Arachi just continuously able to come together, land the big AoE CCs onto huge amounts of targets there, and that's what contributed to all 3 of those last fights were completely 5-0. There was no opportunity ever given to the side of Mythos Purple to be able to turn around the fight and start to claim some kills back. It's just over and done in just a couple of seconds there in the duration of the CC brought out for the other members. And great pick by Reese's Pieces there on the Malphite, or on the Silas into the Malphite, rather, to be able to steal away those ultimates with the hijack and come on in to provide another layer of big AoE CC damage to his team, and in order to guarantee that they were able to continue to team fight in that fashion and make sure that they could win.
Yeah, and I think heading into game 3, it gives a lot of things that they're going to have to scratch their head over for the sides of Mythos, of what to ban, what to keep away from them. Because it looked like we had thought they had a pretty good draft overall. They had got the team comp that they wanted. But now there's champions that they're going to have to look at banning. The Annie, the Silas, the Olaf for 2 games in a row now as well.
Yeah, they've really got to go back to the drawing board here a little bit. They had the scaling up team fight composition. They had the early game advantage on that composition, but they just were not able to keep themselves from getting engaged on in some of these dragon fights, from getting aced, and from falling so far behind that the compositions just didn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, it's overall really, really good stuff. Great. We took a game that we thought was going to be a 2-0, now a 1-1 heading into game 3 as well.
Yeah, and we are going to need to get on into the lobby for that game 3, but we're going to throw it to a quick break before then. Make sure everybody can get on in there and get ready for Champion Select. But do not go anywhere. We're going to be right back with game 3. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's stream of the Risen Rampage Premade League. We are coming back with Game 3 of Mythos Purple up against Screaming Sun Gaming. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again by a Drunk Carry. And a Drunk Carry, we didn't know we were going to be taking it all the way to Game 3 here tonight, but I'm perfectly happy that we're here.
Yeah, they definitely proved us wrong there from the size of Screaming Sun. We had pretty much partway through the game was kind of just handing it to Mythos Purple, with the team comp, with the way that they were trying to executing it early on, with Fiddle getting everything he wanted. But great, great, great turnaround from them.
Yeah, and we are going to be seeing a couple of mid-series substitutions, by the way, coming on here into Game 3. Both teams have subbed out the supports they've been using for the whole series thus far and are bringing in two new faces to join us here for Game 3.
Yeah, we've got the starter subbing in for the sub.
Yeah, so on both sides here. So we are going to be curious to see how this kind of affects some of those bot lane matchups. We've seen one go really either side so far this series. Best Plunger and Nick were able to take some leads in game one over for the side of Mythos Purple, but for the side of Screaming Sun were able to win that bot lane in game two. So going to be curious to see how they're able to come on back here now that we got some new looks coming in from both teams.
Yeah, and best female support. Just looking over the OPGG does have a very similar champion pool as Arachi, so I think it'll be good. To have them seamlessly go through there. I haven't checked Mighty Haraf yet. I don't know if he has the same champ pool. I know that they kind of jumped on what supports they played between game one and two anyway, but we're gonna see more of that same caster mage style in the bot lane.
Yeah, really curious to see because we saw some way different bot lanes in game one and game two. It was the Jin Seraphine up against the Soraka
Hmm.
Caitlyn in game one, and then it was the Raya Rakan up against the Morgana Caitlyn in game two. So curious to see how they want to evolve on here. That Morgana Caitlyn pick did seem to be very powerful early on in the game, was able to get quite a big lead in the lane, but was eventually just turned around against and wasn't able to keep that lead on going. Also, really curious to see how this draft goes for in regards to Fiddlesticks priority, as we could see that the Fiddlesticks was banned away over from the side of Eternal Cries in game one, was allowed to get it in game two, and didn't really come through in the way that we might have been hoping. Was able to get some good leads for himself early on, but eventually ended up falling behind and wasn't able to keep on going.
Yeah, after a while, Olaf just got too tanky. He just got too strong with Ragnar. He just kind of ran straight through him and at his priority targets every single time, and the Annie just burst down everyone regardless.
Yeah, was really able to execute in a lot of those fights, especially on top of the Rakan and with the Silas there. Want to see if maybe it's going to be an attempt from the side of Mythos Purple to maybe try to pinch away some of those big team fight tools that they were able to get on in the last game. The side of SSG, they had the Camille in game one, they had the Olaf, they had the Caitlyn. They didn't really have, and they had the Soraka, so they didn't really have access to this big AoE kind of team fight style that they were able to execute in game two, and they looked a lot worse as a result. So we're going to see maybe they're going to try to kind of pinch that away if they can.
Hmm. So yeah, I think we should be getting into this draft pretty soon. I'm very, very interested to seeing what bands they have because comfort and meta, they're gonna have to find a nice divide here and try to get rid of both.
Yeah, and it's they're not 100% sure on what they want to go for yet either. We're a little bit delayed on this draft here as they are continuing to just discuss over what picks they want to go for. Is maybe both sides have to go a little bit back to the drawing board here. It maybe unexpected to have gotten to this point. The team comps that were drawing away bans in game one were given to them over in game two. It didn't quite work out the way they were hoping there. So we're really going to be expecting the side of Screaming Sun to maybe repeat some of those bans that they adjusted for in game two, and in turn maybe be able to produce a win as a result. The other pick to wonder about here, though, is Seraphine, as SSG has not gone for the Seraphine ban in either of their drafts so far. It was something that they didn't ban away on red side in game one, and thus was able to be picked up over by MP in game two or in game one, and was able to be incredibly effective on that champion. It's a really strong power pick at the moment, and we're gonna have to see if the side of Mythos is able to get their hands on it yet again, as it made a big difference.
I think they're gonna 100% prioritize it on this blue side first pick. It's just too good of a pick. We saw how much impact it had in that game one as well. It does put a big issue for what they're banning though.
Yeah, but there might be a little bit of a ban slot opened up by the side of Screaming Sun, given how that game two went though. Because in game one, they used one of their red side bans on the Fiddlesticks, and in game two, the Fiddlesticks just didn't really show up the way that maybe their side was hoping on. If their jungler, plays a lot of Fiddlesticks, you don't encounter a lot of Fiddlesticks in scrimmages. You don't encounter a lot of Fiddlesticks
Hmm.
in play. You don't encounter a lot of it in solo queue. And so there's a temptation to just say, I don't want to deal with that nonsense. Get it on out of here. But now that they've dealt with it once and, maybe it wasn't too bad, they feel like they could have an additional ban slot available to take away something like that Seraphine.
Hmm. And we're actually jumping into the bans right here. Looks like we've already gotten Hecarim and Seraphine banned from blue side and Vladimir banned from red side.
All right, well, the Seraphine's now being banned on blue side, so
Mm.
forget all of that
Yeah,
nonsense that I
logic
was
be
saying.
damned where we're talking. Yeah.
Forget all of that in regards to what I said there, but that is going to be the Ujir ban coming on through yet again. The Ujir was available over to them on the blue side in that game one and was able to make up quite a bit of a difference. So no longer going to be available for the side of Mythos Purple here, as they're not going to be adjusting too much of their ban strategy here. None of those picks that were coming through for Screaming Sun in game two going to be banned away by MP in game three here. So now going to see what they want to go for on this blue side first pick.
Mhm. So yeah, there is some junglers left open. The Jin pick just straight up.
Yeah, they're gonna lock right on into that Jin and look to be able to make this bot lane kind of domination happen yet again. They've gone off this Caitlyn pick that they've been going for previously, and they're instead going to focus onto the Jin for themselves.
Mhm. I mean, it makes sense. Going back to comfort for game three, it's kind of what you want. When you don't expect a game three as well. He just popped off so hard game one. I'm interested to see what they pick, 'cause now they leave themselves wide open to things like Misfortune, things like Ash that does counter the Jin, you know? When
Yeah,
supposed to be
they're
game one where
they're
that
gonna go
didn't
into the
happen.
Kaisa. I was wondering where Kaisa was all this series because we haven't gotten to see any of her so far, but she's still incredibly powerful, even following those Q missile nerfs that maybe touched her just a little bit in the previous patch. But now going to be coming on through here for the side of SSG in game three. With all the marbles on the table, going to be facing off against this Jin, and we're going to see maybe they can pick a jungler here, maybe they can pick a support to pair up with the Kaisa. A lot of opportunity here. They're going to take the Kane for the jungle here blind.
Yeah, that is a very bold pick. That does leave up things like Olaf that we've already seen twice this series as well.
Yeah, and gonna see what their opportunity is to take away from it. But this is a Swain hover. Oh, baby, that is gonna be the Swain support locked in for the side of Mythos Purple. I play a lot of this drunk carry, and I gotta say,
Oh.
especially coming up with Jin down here in the bot lane, it is a severely underrated pick. Has a lot of control you can bring over the map with that vision of Empire, as well as being able to just yank people around and bust out a ton of damage from that support position. Real big fan of mage supports in this meta, and Swain is gonna be one of the better of them.
Yeah, and just the inherent synergy with the Swain, with the Jin. So many routes, so many easy ways for him to hook and grab you. It's going to be such a painful lane, I think, for them.
Yeah, and additionally, that is going to be the Skarner locked in, going to be looking to just farm it on out against this Kane. Could be bullied maybe a little bit at some point going on here, but the Skarner is an incredibly powerful pick in this meta right now. Often taken as a Hecarim counter, but can also do just fine on his own. Going to be kind of in a similar territory to the Nocturne, where you want to keep a very close eye on it. Once it hits that level 6 is how you use your first couple of ultimates. Going to have a big impact on how the rest of the game continues to play out. And now is going to be 3 for 3 on Vigar picks so far, as SSG going to lock that one in for themselves yet again on the red side.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened to me in my life. Like, this has got to be some kind of record here. 3 games in a row of Vigar, and every time picked before the counter, I think. Like
All
before
right,
the
now
other mid laner.
somebody has the wrong read on what's going on with this Swain here. I'm not sure if it's me or if it's Screaming Sun, but they've banned away the Zyra here.
Oh,
And I'm so certain this has to be
oh, it's got
Swain's.
to be support.
It's got to be support. It's such a good pairing with the Jin, and it in a solo lane these days is not really what it might have been in days past. It's not really self-sufficient in that way. Really wants to be able to have that ally to back up its CC and damage with. So gonna really be expecting this to go on bot lane, but maybe MP plays it in solo lanes. Who knows?
So yeah, as someone that is a top lane main, there is a small chance that it could be top, but you usually see that as someone that's counterpicked like into a tank or something, you know? And do they
Yeah,
really
we're
think it
not
could be
putting
top
Gnar.
lane? Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to be locking in that Gnar. Gnar would beat Swain if it's a top lane matchup, but
Oh, for
again,
sure.
really not going to be operating as though that is the case here, as we're going to be expecting to see likely going to be a top lane and mid lane here, as Now
Yep.
gonna be the Kassadin hovered up on. This was banned away as a potential Vygar counter in game one, and now has been allowed on through. So they are gonna be locking it on in. Kassadin does have a pretty good time into that Vygar. He has a pretty easy laning experience pre-level 6, which is where Kassadin is at his weakest. And then after they hit the level 6, the Kassadin can continue to duel aggressively onto the Vygar there. He can ult on right on out of the event horizon. Doesn't have to worry about the baby cage in the slightest. And also arguably just scales into a more threatening and more dangerous team fight.
Yeah, and we will see Ornn getting picked up here as well. Not the most fun lane against Gnar, but I think they're looking just for that a little bit more of that guaranteed CC that's pretty powerful. Skarner and Ornn coming at you because Kassadin does lack that.
Yeah, they're all in on scaling up into late game here now. They
Hmm.
have that Jin Swain duo in the bot lane. Swain going to be operating as a second mage, a huge damage source as he starts to scale up. They have access to the Skarner. They have this hyper scaling Kassadin, who still is going to be able to be bringing out all those kinds of features that we've come to expect from Kassadin in seasons past. He's going to be jumping all over the map and dealing a ton of damage to everybody as he starts getting those ulti stacks up. Meanwhile, though, once again, Screaming Sun going to be looking to kind of run away and snowball with it this game. The Vygar, maybe not quite the greatest fit for a comp like that, but Kane definitely going to be going likely into that blue form and going to be looking to just assassinate people all over the place.
Yeah. So we see Thresh picked up as well. Thresh, Kaisa, a lane that you not see all the time. Pretty standard though, not too bad. But yeah, I'm so happy we're seeing a Swain support here, honestly.
Yeah, definitely very excited to see that champion come on across. Has a lot of early lane power. Not really going to have the worst matchup in the world against the Thresh Kaisa. Do want to have kind of generally a longer range support up against Swains. That you do, if you have to step up to the wave to go for those shares, that is the best way to just get hit by the grasp and be pulled on in for a huge rotation of damage from the Swain. But Thresh still going to have to do kind of that same style, and Kaisa not going to have some crazy range on her either. So the Jin and Swain definitely going to be able to bully around in this bot lane. Now, both mid laners also just going to be looking to kind of scale up the whole game, so not going to be expecting too much in that area either. It's really going to be up to, once again, Reese's Pieces on this Gnar, once again getting the counter pick up in the top lane. We're going to have to expect him to get some dominance up there along with his jungler in order for them to be able to snowball the game the way they want to.
Yeah, it's. I don't see too much action going on early anyway with both these scaling comps. So I don't think Skarner will even really get exposed too poorly against this Kane matchup.
Yeah, you gotta watch out here, and gotta also be paying attention here to who is going to pay their taxes up against the Skarner, right? We always talk about
Mm,
the QSS tax when facing off against Skarner, and to see which champions are going to dedicate their time and money into building those items. Now, the Kane really wants to be getting some of those items in his pocket because he wants to be able to assassinate targets and ensure that he's going to be able to win as a result. But unfortunately, he gonna probably have to spare some money on the side to pick up a Quicksilver Sash to prevent himself from just being hooked in by that Skarner. It's very much the same philosophy as the Skarner into Hecarim counter pick that you see a lot in professional play. When you have a frontline damage dealing jungler facing off against the Skarner will love to just impale you, drag you back into the team, and take you down while you can't sustain up and can't survive in the front line as you aren't one of those big tank targets.
yeah, I don't see a lot of issues for SSG to actually get in on team fights. Because if Kane does have that little bit of going blue with a knockup, but unless they time Maganar correctly, they have a lot of issue picking fights. I think.
Yeah, and once again, to just throw it on back to what we talked about right at the beginning of this draft, is these two substitutions, Mighty Haraf and Best Female Support, have not been playing at all so far in this series. They are coming on
Hmm.
out here fresh, not tired at all from the first two games, and we're going to be able to see how they interact with each other and with their AD carries to swing this bot lane matchup. It's been Bust Plunger generally on the front side most of these games thus far, along with his previous support, and now that he's paired up in this dominating lane with Mighty Haraf on the Swain, we're going to see if he's able to just continue to bully around and really take advantage of the opportunity he's been given this game. It's really going to be divided based on the side lanes for most of this matchup.
Hmm. And I think from the side lanes, we've got to give the advantage to Gnar. Because
Yeah, I
I'm
completely
I'm a
agree.
little concerned by this Ornn pick into Gnar. I know that they're going for the scaling, and they waited until about 3 seconds left in the draft to pick it, but it's not a historically great matchup for Ornn at all.
completely true that it isn't there, but he doesn't mind that he's going to be set behind early, at least not in the way that something like a Kaisa does. Because Ornn is
Mhm.
eventually just going to be able to scale up to that gold values. Eventually, he's going to be getting to that level 13. He's going to be busting out the ornaments and giving it over to his allies. And that's what they're hoping for, right? They have the heavy scaling composition. They have the Kassadin locked in. They have the mage support who's going to be coming in as another damage dealer in a way that the Thresh can never really be. The Thresh is going to be great for
Mhm.
utility and is going to be pulling in those things, but can never be a damage dealer in the way that a late game scaling up Swain can be. So, gonna really be the onus on the side of Screaming Sun. What yet again, we've said it pretty much every game so far this series that they have to be getting the lead, they have to be pushing their advantage. They are the beat down in these matchups, and they are going to need to get Redeye specifically pretty ahead if he's going to be able to carry this game on the cane.
Yeah, because as opposed to the last game where we saw things like Annie as their backup plan, as we're calling to get that strong engage no matter what time of the game it was at, they're lacking it this time. They don't have that big engage unless Thresh does get a great hook, but they have to be pretty close range then. And then you're looking at champions like Swain who can just Zanyas, Cassin who can just get away, Ornn who's super tanky. They're gonna have a big issue getting on top of Jin as well with this comp.
Yeah, and one of these supports is going to be a major hero for their team in this series. They've both been sitting out these first two games and are now coming on in for game three to make the difference on some pretty big playmaking picks from both of them. Both able to
Mhm.
really yank people way out of position there and able to make plays happen for their team. But to find out what's going to happen there, we need to get loaded on up into the game. So we are going to throw it on to a quick break, get everybody loaded on up and synchronized. But do not go anywhere. We're going to be right back with game three of Mythos Purple up against Screaming Sun Gaming. Oh,
Oh,
wait.
dang.
Pause. Hell Hello, everybody. Welcome back for real this time to Mythos Purple versus Screaming Sun Gaming. At a little bit of a pause there right as we loaded on in, but we are now through that, and we are going to be getting started here. There's a 5-man in the bot lane. Best
Oh
female support
no.
going to find this onto Plunger and going to be chasing on a little bit farther. Maybe getting this first blood here, but finally going to be able to escape. No follow-up CC available, and so just going to be making their presence known a little bit.
Yeah, and best female support does what I do when I get into my first game of the day. She had chosen the E after coming out of the fountain instead of waiting to see if the invade would be successful to go for a hook there. That would have been definitely a dead gen if you just waited to get the ability.
Yeah, but still, it's effective. You at least get you get your presence known. Make Best Plunger feel a little bit unsafe even in his own lane, and you do get that ward down there that should be able to spot on out if Eternal Cries decides to go for his Krugs. But it does look like he's actually going to be starting up on the top side this game. Maybe he'll be looking to transfer into bot lane as soon as he can to make some plays off of his playmaking bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have any kill pressure at top side with Ornn if he did a level 3 gank anyway, so it does make sense. The ward will expire by the time he makes it down towards the Krugs as well, this path.
Yeah. Somebody in chat points out, very importantly, by the way, +1 AP to Mowgli the cat on that Vigar there for Screaming Sun, going to be able to land 1 Q on a Best Plunger, and so be starting out with the tiniest bit more AP than he would have otherwise.
This is hashtag worth after that at that point. You might as well just all chat it.
Yeah, you didn't even expend anything for it. Did open themselves up perhaps to getting this ward down. You can see that ward on the bird camp by Redye over there. But actually, Gnar taking quite a bit of abuse here early on from the Ornn, going to have to just be backing on off a little bit there, trying to get the procs off of his Grasp the Undying to stay up in health, but just taking a lot of damage from those minions. And now there goes the hook, landing onto Mighty Haraph at max range after the flash, and going to guarantee first blood picked up by Dallas in the losing bot lane matchup. Excellently played by them there.
Yeah, that's just textbook right there. If you look up bot lane, first bot lane hit level 2, just walks up, gets the hook in. Really good job right there, showing why she's the starter too.
Yeah, no, really making the difference there on that Thresh, able to throw on out the hook, predicting the flash, which was in a straight line, to be fair, and is going to be able to pick up that first kill up against the Swain. That is not where you want to be as the Jhin Swain lane, but there's going to be a knockup. These side lanes are the exact opposite of what we predicted, by the way, Drunk Carry. As you can see, the Gnar is getting bullied on early by the Ornn, and the Swain getting bullied on early by the Thresh Kaisa.
Well, this is Rampage League where your stats and rules don't matter anyway, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it really does here. And now the mid lane, though, going as expected here, as this is likely not going to be able to force either one out. They're both just going to be farming on up here. And once the Kassadin hits 6, he's going to be feeling really good about themselves. This is a great matchup for the Kassadin, perhaps one of the better ones in the game, as there's very few champions that do less pre-6 than Vigar, and you can really just guarantee that you're going to be able to farm it out and get to ult effectively. It's really up to Redye here to maybe find an angle to get a gank here. This might be his best opportunity. He's sitting in bottom river, and Clogged Toilet has pushed on up a little bit farther, but he's looking around in the bot lane more so than the mid, and Eternal Cries is waiting on around in the wings to make sure that he's safe.
And Eternal Cries just had the Scrying Orb as well, so the Kassadin knows he can successfully push that wave through, not worry about getting frozen. Just a really good job of Skarner of pathing the enemy jungler this time.
Yeah, Redye does manage to pick up himself that Scuttle Crab, and now Eternal Cry is going to be getting the one on the top side. And now here comes Redye. He's pathing on towards the mid lane, but Clogged Toilet knows that this is up and is backing on up a little bit farther here, just going to manage to evade the gank, and he knows exactly where Redye is as he's walking right in front of him.
And he does have the prowl from both of his soul laners as well, if he wants to look a little bit deeper. Not that there's much for him to take, he's just going to take that little cone there and walk away.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to be it there, but there's a first hook landed in from the Swain, going to drag on in best female support, but best Plunger not going to be able to land the Deadly Flourish off of that. You do need to get those synchronized together. That's a little bit of a risk when playing Jhin Swain, is that once you have the yank come out, you can force your Jhin to miss his W if you guys aren't in good communication, so got to be keeping that in mind for future hooks.
You definitely got to check next QC. Once you go Bing, you got to bong right afterwards. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, for certain. But didn't quite work it out there, but perhaps they'll be able to tighten that up as the lane goes on. Now another knockup going to be landed on by Northwest. Going to be moving on in onto the damage for Reese's Pieces, but probably a little bit out of abilities there. Just going to be getting the Hyper Triggers returned onto him, followed up with one more Boomerang. And he's going to be backing on away from each other. No super clear violence just yet, and not really a clear winner in that bot lane fight, although the Ornn can continue to buy on items while still up here, and does still have access to that teleport. Eternal Cry is going to be running on through the mid lane, maybe looking to potentially make something happen, but not quite going to get anything onto him either.
So we're looking at first backs here. I wonder which Catherine's gonna go towards. If he's gonna go, I see a lot of people go Everfrost in this matchup. It just becomes a nightmare for Veigar post 6. Then he could also just go towards a more conservative kind of path as well.
Yeah, no, there's the hook landed onto the Thresh, going to be pulling her back on in, followed up with the Deadly Flourish, followed up with by the kill. Excellently played there. That's the strength of the Swain right there, able to pull somebody out of position just the same way as the Thresh, and synchronizing on up with the Jhin correctly to be able to guarantee that he stays CC'd down.
Yeah, and I guess best female support felt safe after landing that hook there, but kind of just playing straight into their hand at that point.
Yeah, and that is going to be a little bit of an advantage picked up for Mythos Purple in the bottom lane. They are now 1-1 up here. They've gotten a little bit of a CS disadvantage, but now the Skarner going to be going in here onto Dallas. Doesn't quite have enough damage to keep the trade out going, though, and going to back on away. But now Clogged Toilet has hit level 6, has his opportunity with the Veigar here, but does actually end up getting hit with the Event Horizon, taking a bit of an unfortunate end of a trade. As a result, is going to be forced to flash in response to Mowgli going in even deeper, trying to get that Primordial Burst on the engaged. Now, female support has roamed on up here, is the Thresh on this champion, and is going to be moving on up in to hook up the Ornn. Doesn't quite get the W off to immune it, but isn't able to keep him pulled in long enough to take down that kill.
And it's like, oversay, great rotation, but Ornn's just going to have to stand around. They could be looking for the dragon here. It's kind of risky with Skarner early on, but it doesn't look like they're going to be opposed at all if they do it.
Yeah, no, this is a good opportunity for them to start on up this dragon. They do have the advantage in the bottom lane at the moment, especially with Thresh up here. But Thresh could potentially be going for a hook here onto Clogged Toilet. He's got to watch out. That's the Hex Flash being channeled on up here, and now she is going to walk on forward, but Eternal Cries is here for the backup. Just has to be careful to not get stunned on up here by the Event Horizon. It does manage to Rift Walk on out of there. Nicely angled to avoid both the Event Horizon and the Thresh hook, and it's going to allow him to escape.
Yeah, just no panic at all right there from Clogged Toilet. Just really calm, really patient, just waiting to get out of there. So that could have turned south very quickly.
Yeah, now Best Plunger moving on forward, getting a good amount of damage onto the Thresh here. Not going to be followed up any further. That's a good dodge away from the hook on the Swain. Important to not be getting hit by that in order to back on away. Now, it's going to be returning to lane. Also worth pointing out, Mighty Haraf is maxing Never Move here on the Swain. I don't know about that look specifically, as generally not going to be getting too much extra value. Don't increase the snare duration or anything, but Northward getting engaged on in the top lane here. He dies following on up, trying to get as much damage as he can. But once again, Eternal Cries is here with the counter gank, and now here comes the Call of the Forge God coming on through, going to be layering that CC with the Impale and going to be taken down, Redeye on the Kayn as a result. That is unfortunate for him, and now engaged in the bot lane. Best female support going to be using that Hex Flash to get on in, and now trying to follow up with the fight, but Best Plunger is getting engaged on, gets the Killer Instinct onto him in the alcove, and is left all alone and will be taken down as a result.
So yeah, everything that we had thought, this is I guess 2 out of 3 games now where the counter top has just not worked out in their favor. At the same time, bottom as well, really good coordination. The Swain Jhin has a lot of inherent synergy, but like you said, it's kind of hard to match it up if you haven't practiced it very much. Just tried and true Kai'Sa threats right there, just running straight at them and killing the AD carry quickly.
Yeah, it really is. And now that's just going to be a little bit of an advantage maybe picked up for Eternal Cries there. It's very important to just keep guaranteeing that Redeye isn't able to get an early lead on this Kayn and isn't able to start snowballing it ahead. The later on in the game that he gets his transformation, the better that's going to be for the rest of his team. Or the better that's going to be for the opposite team, of course.
Yeah. No worries. And then it does look like he might be going for that Everfrost here.
I do like to see that.
Next, there's no vision on the dragon. We just noticed that red team just kind of did a little question mark ping. They weren't even sure if they were trying to sneak it there or not.
Yeah, that's definitely been something we've seen a lot of this series. And now, once again, Northward going to be going in for an aggressive trade here on Reese's Pieces. Going to get himself Nard into the wall. He's going to have no choice here but to really back off. He's got a little bit of armor there, though, in the form of the Bramble Vest, and is going to be able to survive.
Yeah, the Bramble does get a little annoying. I'm going to assume that Nard's going to go Sunder here first. For that damage. Oh, nice hook.
Hook landed out there. There goes the Vision of Empire, and they're going to be following up onto Dallas. Now that's going to force Mighty Haraf to flash on away, though. Not quite enough damage coming on through yet. Yeah.
Oh, I think...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I think we're a little ahead of the stream now because of they had to change the overlay.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
All right. I think should be just fine, but we'll check in on that when we get a chance.
Yeah, they're on the dragon now.
Yeah, we are like just a little bit ahead, maybe just about 1 second. We'll just do a little quick pause there to get synced on up, and then we are just fine.
Yeah, I think we're
And
good now.
we'll continue on with the game from there. Now, Mowgli going to be getting engaged on here, likely by Clog Toilet. The Deadly Flourish comes on through, but doesn't quite land onto him. But that's likely going to enable the Kassadin to finish on off this kill. A great start for Clog Toilet there, as he's going to have a little bit of a gold advantage.
Mhm. And they were able to get that dragon up as well there and the kill. The Captain is just going to keep on rolling through, I feel like. They've already gotten, like you said, that early laning phase. The Vanguard can do nothing to stop him. He's got a kill now as well. He's sitting on how much gold? Yeah, another
Yeah.
1,000 gold as well. He's fighting Kane, though.
Yeah, just a little bit of a brawl back and forth there. Going to be a little bit of stacks for the Kane passive being picked up there by Redeye, but not anything else really to follow. Now, really do want to talk a little bit about these Swain maxing abilities. Does have 2 points in the Q and 2 points in the E. Not sure if one of those might have been a misclick or not, but you really do want to be maxing the Q over the E here. Don't get a lot more CC duration off of the max. And really, the E is what you want to max last. You want to go Vision of Empire second, as that gives you a much lower cooldown, and you can just be checking bushes and punching people and cutting off angles all over the place if you're able to get some points in that ability.
Maybe you might have put it in early, so thinking like, well, if Thresh, let's see what Thresh is maxing actually. So Thresh is actually maxing Lantern. So maybe in his mind he thought if Thresh maxes Q, I've got a match and cooldown reduction, but I think it might have just been a misclick.
Yeah, there's some interesting choices here for sure, but now just going to be a little bit of a return to normalcy. The first dragon was picked up by the side of Mythos Purple, and once again, that's not what you want as Screaming Sun. You are the beatdown team comp, you are the aggressor, you want to be stacking up those dragons for yourself. Although one isn't, of course, the end of the world, they still will have opportunities to do so, and they have built themselves up a slight gold lead here despite being down in kills. They're able to get themselves some more turret plates than their opposition, and they are cashing out on those. A CS advantage and a turret plate advantage in the top lane, a CS advantage and a turret plate advantage even bigger in the bottom lane, and it's really only mid lane that's winning on out for Clogged Toilet there for Mythos Purple. But of course, that is going to be their late game hyper carry, and that is going to make a huge difference if he's able to just continue to snowball ahead.
And Kai'Sa's gold is just insane right now as well. Dallas is playing this super well, up about 1,200 gold. That's where the lead is pretty much.
Yeah, that certainly is. And now looks like not too much more going to be going on out here. It's going to be Redeye looking around for the bot lane, trying to make a play happen. Northward once again finding himself aggressed out by Reese's Pieces, but not looking like there's going to be too much more engage here. It really is on the side of Screaming Sun to try to make a play happen. That is going to be the red team spawning up the Rift Herald. Right as I say that, they're going to be trying to pressure onto this turret, although it does still have 4 plates alive, so they're not likely going to be doing much more than just cashing on out here. Redeye, of course, then going to leave from there and is going to start heading over towards mid lane, but you just can't gank Clogged Toilet anymore. He's too slippery. He's got access for the Rift Walk, and is just going to be able to jump on out of there.
Yeah, and he walked right over a ward as well, so there's just no chance of it happening.
Yeah, so no longer going to be any follow-on up from the bottom lane, as it's going to just cash out on 2 plates. And yeah, it's better than nothing, but that's going to be a big hook landed in by the Swain. The Nether move going to pull on in Dallas, followed up with by the ultimate. They're going to reactivate it early on, so not maxing out on the damage, but a flash forward, followed up with the snare from the Jhin, going to likely pick up Dallas here. They do manage to get the shutdown over onto Mighty Haraf, but just like that, Reese's Pieces is engaging in the top lane, going to force a flash out of the opposing Skarner, but not much more. Clogged Toilet now going to need to escape. It does have access to the Rift Walk, so going to be able to get on out of there.
So yeah, I was actually very surprised by
But
Swain.
Eternal Cries might find himself engaged on a little bit of blast cone there from the side of Screaming Sun, going to find themselves a little scorpion hiding on out in that bush, but he does manage to escape, and they're just going to be able to pick themselves up a blue buff. But now maybe an engage on to Veigar here, going to immediately find himself suppressed on up by the Impale. Now will they chase on over? Clogged Toilet going to jump on over with Riftwalk, going to focus on this Veigar, trying to take him down, and they do manage to do so. Now here comes the call of the Forge God onto Redeye. He doesn't have anywhere else to go. He's been chased over by the Kassadin, and he goes into the ultimate to hide inside of him, but now there are other targets still available. They're going to be moving on into here, and they are going to pick him up.
Yeah, just an overstay by the side of Screaming Sun. They thought that they'd push them away. They thought they could steal the blue buff, but the longer they waited, reinforcements started showing up. Great Ornhorn. Kassadin shows up. He's got 2-0 now, 150 bounty. Going to be finishing up his first item right here. It's just, I'm not sure what they're trying to accomplish there besides the blue buff. And even then, is it really worth it in the enemy jungle with no vision aside from that buff?
Yeah, no, not going to be able to get what they wanted out of there, and they are going to be ending up funneling more gold over into the Kassadin, who has now completed his Everfrost. He's sitting here 2-0-1, and he's at level 11, so he's gotten his second cooldown reduction boost onto his Rift Walk. That makes him even more dangerous than previously, and they really need to start making something happen here. Screaming Sun wants to have a substantial advantage over this Kassadin before he hits level 16, as at that point, he's going to be Rift Walking all over the place and incredibly difficult to stop.
Yeah, and their team comp they picked, unless they have Meganar out, they don't have anyone that's inherently tanky on their team. Kassadin's going to have a field day. He's going to be picking up kills left and right and just walking away without taking really any damage.
Yeah, that's the result here. But now Casting going in for a big TP play here in the bot lane. Best female support going to use that Dark Passage to get him on out of here. But a nice flash. Everfrost comes through from Clogged Toilet to get both targets CC down. Now they're going to be moving forward onto Dallas. He does use the Killer Instinct to get on out. But now the Thresh has nowhere else to go. Thresh has jumped on over the wall. Actually, that is going to be the Gnar as Reese's Pieces is trying to flee on away here. Meanwhile, Best female support was able to get the flash on out of there as well. So no kills picked up, but that is advantage over the Dragon. And they are going to be able to start this one up and pick it up for their team. That is going to be 2-0 in the Dragons once again for the side of Mythos Purple as the scaling team comes.
Yeah, and they just forced so hard there. And like we were saying before, Catson's just so slippery. And Gnar, as we said in the pregame, only had half of his bar there. So his team needed him. The call was probably for him to come to the Dragon fight. But a mini Gnar does nothing besides just get poked down and just run away.
Yeah, you really need to be able to manage that Gnar bar in order to go in for those big team fights off of the teleport plays, and was not able to get themselves at the thresholds they needed to be able to make that fight happen. Now, once again, another hook landed on him by the Swain, going to be yanking on out of there. Got to note that every time he lands one of those never moves and is able to get the proc off of the passive, he does pick up a soul and gains 5 permanent max health as a result. So definitely feels good to be able to lead landing those. The same is true of the Vision of Empires that he is throwing down as well. So you got to be careful not to give too many of those over to Swain for free, as it ends up just making him too tanky as he comes into the late game.
Oh, looking for a player from Thresh.
Yeah, maybe a little tent for a hook, and they do manage to land it down here onto the Swain. Going even farther, going to try to pick up this kill is Dallas, and he does manage to do so. Able to pick up a little pickup off of the Killer Instinct, and now the Curtain Call has opened up, try to snipe it around Best female support, but unlikely to be able to do so. Does get taken down incredibly low, but does importantly save Dallas. But there's the snipe coming in through from Best Plunger. They are going to be able to finish off the Thresh as a result. Well played there, knowing that they've chunked him down incredibly low off the Curtain Call and able to finish on off with Deadly Flourish.
Yeah, we talked about it game 1. Best Plunger had he got the pentakill, he got so much gold. The guy doesn't miss his W's. He hits every single one.
Yeah, and that's all he needs to be able to do all the damage he needs, and he's able to pick himself up another kill there in what is supposed to be the dominating bot lane. Now Reese's Pieces once again finding himself in a favorable fight with the Ornn, doesn't get knocked on up by the effects there, and therefore is going to be able to turn it on in. Goes for the Gnar backwards, has access to Redye here, who is coming on up, speeding on in with the Kayn, trying to do as much as he possibly can. He fashes on forward, he goes in for the W, he goes in for the Q, he's trying to dive onto here, but a big double knockup landed up against the turret, but he goes into the ultimate and he's able to take up the kill as a result. Flash on away from Reese's Pieces to stay alive, and they do manage to pull off the gank on the Ornn.
Yeah, definitely Northward gets participation trophy right there. He tried so hard, but yet it didn't matter. He had so many knockups, but that was a really good, actually, Kayn right here, though.
Yeah, Redye getting focused onto here, going for a little bit of a recall that he couldn't quite get there, and he is going to get impaled and taken down solo by Eternal Cries. The Dark Passage are not going to help you there once you get stung by the Scorpion, and he does end up going down.
So yeah, they just use so many resources to try to get the Ornn there. Even though they do get up the kill, it's getting that 3-0 Skarner is going to feel so good for them.
Yeah, and that is going to be, even in the blue form that he's managed to achieve, Redye just cannot take that 1v1 with the Scorpion once he's lost all his abilities and once he's already at lower HP, but he has managed to start this game going. Interestingly, going to be Blue Kayn plus Gore Drinker, not a build combo I've seen too much of so far, as that is Blue Kayn, right? He's already evolved? No, now he's going for the red Kayn, and he does manage to do so. I thought I saw the W desync earlier, but clearly my eyes are deceiving me.
Oh no, yeah, because I was surprised too, because we were at, what, 18 minutes during that fight top, and he still didn't have form yet. 19 minutes is definitely far behind schedule for most Kayns.
Yeah, for sure, but is going to be going actually for the red Kayn this time around. So a little bit of a different build that we've been seeing lately, and an interesting interaction from the Gnar there, actually going to force Northward back away from the turret, but not quite going to be enough as he doesn't escape, as he does manage to escape.
Yeah, really well played by Northward. Northward hit his W so that he couldn't be displaced there.
Oh, but now Kayn coming in for a gank that is going to be stun landed on a Clogged Toilet, but he does have access to the Rift Walk. He's going to be jumping out of there. The question is, does he want to go for a turn, and not can he be caught?
It's just so slippery. Look, these ganks over and over, and the Veigar's behind in CS levels, pretty much everything now. They could look for this. Yeah. They're looking for 2v2.
And now Dallas going in once again onto Best Plunger here, finds the Killer Instinct, goes on in, and is able to pick up the kill. And now it's Mighty Harass stuck in a 1v2, and even with the Demonic Ascension, not going to be able to pick that one up. But now Kayn going to be going into a fight in the mid lane, does have access to Eternal Cries, trying to pick him on off his Clogged Toilet, but doesn't able to get any more damage out, and is going to have to flash on out of there, or at least Rift Walk on out of there, as does not have access to Flash. That's going to be the pickup for Redye, as Clogged Toilet steps up a little bit too far, and now a big shutdown onto Eternal Cries is landed by Mowgli, and that's a huge turnaround fight for the side of Screaming Sun.
Yeah, Screaming Sun is now up 3,000 gold. They got 2 big shutdowns right there. They got all the gold on their Kaisa as well in that bot fight. The tables have definitely just turned in the last 45 seconds.
Yeah, that was nuts as Screaming Sun able to once again solidify themselves into the advantage state here. They once again find themselves with about a 4K gold lead here, even though they haven't been able to pick up any of the dragons. So if they're able to just continue to find fights and continue to win those fights, they can snowball the game that way. Usually you expect them to be forcing onto the dragons, but they're appearing to be able to win these fights with or without them. And now they're going to be looking to get their first one as we've entered the mountain map, and they're going to be trying to pick up their first mountain drake.
And we're kind of seeing a mirror of Game 2 here, where the first 2 dragons were taken down by Eternal Cries. And then shortly afterwards, their team lost a very crucial fight, and the game turned against them.
Yeah, and that's all it takes sometimes against some of these snowballing comps. Is the scaling comp you really do need to play with a lot of discipline, as these games can be on a knife's edge. And if you end up just throwing something away a little bit too early, or just letting go and letting them snowball just a bit too hard, it can very quickly snowball into being outside of your control.
And I don't think it's in the world for them at all. The Cassin is still very strong. I think they've got to turn things around and try to get this bot lane though.
This is the latest Tear of the Goddess, by the way, I've ever seen, as Clogged Toilet has, like, just picked one up, but Northport now getting engaged on into the top lane. Reese's Pieces might be able to finish this one on off for himself, but now there's also a fight going on simultaneously in the bottom lane. Going to be the Gnar into the wall from Reese's Pieces, likely going to be able to pick up the kill here with the Stride Breaker, and he does manage to do so. Looks like they were able to disengage on out in the bottom lane, but that is another solo kill for Reese's Pieces in that top lane. He's looking real good in this matchup, but now that is a big stun landed onto Mowgli from the Skarner. The Impale going to pull him on back, and plus Hunter is going to be able to finish off that kill as a result. Now it's all up to Cassidon to try to style onto this fight. He's trying to come on in, but hasn't managed to do so yet. He actually was taken down as a result, and now Mighty Giraffe is now taken down as well by Reese's. A good teleport from him, going to enable him to come on into the fight and turn it around.
Yeah, just a nice little death brush there from the side of MP, just being very patient there, getting a good pick. The TP's, again, though, second TP from Gnar that's just a little bit too late before the fight, or I guess the fight was already over at that point.
Yeah, just not able to find their angle there. The Impale early from Cassidon, or from Skarner was a great idea, but really nice on Mowgli there to throw down the event horizon as he was getting impaled, which enabled him to stun on up Eternal Cries and prevent him from getting pulled too far away from the rest of the team. So they were able to find their fight lines even after Mowgli was killed, and that enabled them to win it out eventually.
Yeah, we're getting right back into it, so I think all this gold on Kaisa, late game scaling is definitely back on the table now. This is starting to get pretty rough for MP.
Yeah, it's going to really be up to Clogged Toilet here to be able to find his angles. He should be able to, once he gets a bunch more items in his inventory, once he's that super late game Cassidon, he should just be able to try to nullify out the Kaisa. Additionally, going to have even more availability of items and such, because he's got those Ornn upgrades that are going to be coming on through. But he needs to be able to get to that point first. And Dallas is so far ahead right now, so is likely going to be able to win fights for his team pretty much single-handedly, as long as he can get the lines that he needs and as long as he can get his positioning correctly. And it's going to be a long time before that Cassidon is able to nullify that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So they're looking kind of just pushing here. We got Skarner coming in the middle, though.
Yeah, Eternal Cry is going to be landing at that Impale onto Mowgli, going to be pulling him on back, but not quite able to finish off the kills. He does just flash on away, and with that, they're going to have to give it on up. That's a teleport blown from northward, but not anything picked up as a result. Clogged Toilet has to Rift walk away from the death sentence there and is going to be able to get on out alive. Nobody going down, but a botched engage, of course, in the mid lane from Eternal Cries. Now here comes the curtain call, trying to pick up a kill potentially on a Mowgli, but missing all the shots except for the final one, which even is going to be blocked away.
So we've got, again, another teleport down, so that definitely won't be up for the dragon fight. We've got this bot lane still pushing here against Cassidon. I think they need to shut this Kaisa down. They've got to really prioritize this, because it's pushing too long. Especially their past safety, in my opinion.
Yeah, need to find some angles here. Nobody has paid their Skarnar taxes yet, so Eternal Cries should really be able to find great opportunities to get some hooks here onto this Skarnar to be able to land those impales and get these carries into positions they don't want to be in, but they've been trying and haven't been able to succeed thus far in too many cases. Mowgli has been the target of the last two impales, and both of them ended up being turned around against Mythos Purple to at least prevent them from getting a kill, if not result in a lost fight.
We have Kaisa by herself, and she's got to be careful. Skarner did see her. She gets away.
Yeah, does not quite access to the Impale yet. Now has it back up and is going to be potentially looking again. The Kaisa would be a great target for this Skarner here if you can melt down through this Fed Kaisa during the Impale before she's able to get all of her damage out, before she's able to ult, before she's able to anything. That's a great recipe for success for Mythos Purple in these team fights. Honestly, the same is true for if they can get onto the Vygar. If they can just zero out one of these carries very early on, or even the Kayn, that'll be a great opportunity for them to be able to win some of these dragon fights. And they are looking to move on over here as the next one's going to be spawning in about 30 seconds. They've called down northward from the top lane as he does have that Summoner Ignite brought about by the spell book. Going to be looking to win this fight as a result. It is Reese's Pieces splitting in the top lane, but does not have access to the teleport, which might mean that the dragon can go on over to Mythos here.
And yeah, it looks like it's just for this dragon in 26 minutes.
Yeah, no, definitely not something that Screaming Sun wants to do. They want to get these dragons for themselves, and they do not want to risk the dragon soul going over to the side of Mythos here, but it looks like they do not have much of a choice, as Mythos are first to the dragons. They're only ones on the dragons. Mowgli is going for a recall here, and there's going to be no contest coming on through. The top lane turret is picked up, but in trade for the dragon, and that is going to put the side of Mythos Purple at soul point.
Yeah, just not timing their rotations or their back timers together very well at all. It looks like they're trying to look for a fight mid, though. They're trying to not let them back.
Yeah, and now going to be maybe a little bit of a fight in the mid lane, but both parties going to back on away from each other. This game is so close so far, Drunk Carry, as they have not been able to find their angles, but now there's a big engage on to Mighty Hiraf. He just gets taken down in the mid lane from some follow-up CC, but now there's going to be a big hook landed on the best female support. Maybe not the best target for the Impale, as they aren't able to follow up through, and they aren't even able to get the kill. Now there's the death sentence landed onto the Skarner, going to be going in for this, as Gnar goes for a crazy engage, but doesn't hit anybody with it, as they're just going to be backing on away here. Now, Clogged Toilet has gone in for the recall, but Eternal Cries is just going to get soloed on out here by the red Kayn. Northward going to go in for the engage, going to be dodged on out from the Kayn ultimate, and now there's two members already killed. There's a big siege coming in from the side of Screaming Sun, and they might even be able to move over towards Baron here with 33 seconds left on Skarner.
Yeah, it would have to be a cast and face check, but actually it looks like Dallas is on the opposite page as his team right now, going for the red buff.
Yeah, just got to see what they want to go for here, as they are just going to look to back away, but that's another one fight for the side of Screaming Sun, just demonstrating that they're able to execute on these fights better.
Yeah, I want to just, as we have a lull in this and they take the recall, I want to go back to that fight right there. What a great play from best female support, getting the hook, not letting him recall after getting Dragon. And then just, this Kai'Sa's so strong right now, the Collector just cleaning up fights left and right with that Q.
Yeah, and once again, Eternal Cries gets the Impale down onto best female support and doesn't even take her down as a result. It's just not the angles you need as the Skarner. You need to be able to use these Impales to pick off key targets, because otherwise your champion just doesn't do very much.
Let's look at the gold now. 13,000 on Kai'Sa, a 4,000 gold lead on Kai'Sa, and 60 CS.
Yeah,
getting so out of hand here.
So far ahead here, and has used some of that big influx of gold to pick up a Quicksilver Sash. So now he's not even vulnerable to getting hooked in by the Impale from Eternal Cries. Just another nail in the coffin there for the side of Mythos Purple. Although their silver lining here is that they do have 3 dragons already and can try to pick up Soul here in another 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That would be a huge deal for them. The Mountain Soul is incredibly powerful, especially when you have something like Ornn and something like Skarner, who are going to be building up all these tank stats. That would be great for them to be able to continue on their front lining. And now Clogged Toilet going for a big engage here, goes to Everfrost onto Dallas and is able to shut him down with the help of his AD carry and support. That's really important for them to be able to get that shut down. And now this teleport is going to be punished as well with the call of the Forge God onto Reese's Pieces, but he's just going to be flashing on out of there and getting away. But now Eternal Cries has found the opposing jungler, going to be getting that Impale here. You need to pull him back. Don't just stand still, as the rest of your team needs to get on over there. Now Rita going to be going for the crazy and great escape here, going on to Mighty Hiraf, going to be able to pick up that kill as a result, but finally going to be able to take him down and get that gold over onto Clogged Toilet, and now they're going for even more. They have a great opportunity in this 4v5 fight here. The Skarner is leading the charge, trying to get some stuns across. Their slows coming in from the curtain call, but it looks like they can't go any forward, and they are only going to be able to pick up those 2 kills.
Yeah, that's what they needed. That is exactly what they were looking for to find the way back into it. Kai'Sa feeling a little invincible at 8-1 there, pushes too far up with no vision, and Cassin is going to take that chance any day of the week to come straight for your Fed AD carry.
Yeah, and the Ornn items are starting to come through, by the way. The Rime Forge Grasp pick up for the Ornn, the Eternal Winter picked up for the Kassadin, and now moving forward even farther, going to pick up onto Mowgli the Cat there. Another nice Everfrost followed up with by the Deadly Flourish from the Jhin, going to enable them to pick up the opposing mid laner. If they can keep picking carries like this, that's a great recipe for success for Mythos.
And we talked about it in the pregame. Kassadin's kind of having his way right now because no one can really stop him unless Gnar is in that mega form to really stun him up.
Yeah, need to find some good angles there to be able to do that, and they do have access once again to the Impale now. Eternal Cries does have that back up, so just want to keep on getting engages there, and they really do want to try to convert to Soul here to try to just stem the bleeding from Screaming Sun. Screaming Sun has got so many good fights onto them and is trying to snowball away with this game. Don't want to really let them back on in even a little bit, so finally, excuse me, solidifying onto the Dragon and getting the Soul there would be a great move for the side of Mythos Purple.
And yeah, there's actually almost no vision control over the Dragon from either teams right now. They've got a little bit of ward coverage and the bushes on the outside, but I'd love to see them make a push, especially Screaming Suns right now, being down the 2 dragons. Just go right now and grab that vision control and scare them.
Yeah, definitely an option, as now we're going to be looking to set up around this Dragon. Like I said, Mythos Purple really wants to be able to secure this for themselves, but Screaming Sun, of course, not going to be interested in letting that happen. A lot comes down to Eternal Cries here on the Skarner. He goes in for the boost there, uses his Turbo Chem Tank, but isn't able to get the engage now. Once again, Reese's Pieces goes for a big engage as well, but isn't really able to find what he wants either. They're trying to focus down onto Northward, but he's very tanky on this Ornn, and they can't really find their opportunities. So now both parties, with one engage tool down, going to be walking away, but Eternal Cries does still have access to this ultimate, and he does not have access to the flash, though. He's going to need to find somebody else to give him that opportunity. It could be from Paul the Forge God coming in from Northward, and there it goes.
They're lining up.
Through, the Event Horizon has laid down across, so it's very difficult for the rest of them to get into the box as well. Eternal Cries just can't find his ultimate, and so not going to be able to get any farther in. Now, Redeye trying to get onto this fight, trying to dive on through, gets a huge knockup onto multiple targets, followed up with by the Gnar, which is already off cooldown again, and they're able to turn around the fight with their massive damage from Dallas on Kai'Sa. He moves on forward. He's already picked up 2, and he's going on for 3 onto Northward. He finds a solo on 2. Best Plunger. He does trade back and forth. The Vest Plunger is actually able to turn it around and pick up a massive shutdown for himself. It's a little bit of a silver lining for an otherwise disastrous fight as he moves on forward, gets executed by the turret, still gives over the kill to Dallas, and now Dragon is likely going to be picked up by Screaming Sun.
Yeah, it looked like everything was going sour from Screaming Suns when the fight started. I think 0-0 in a blind fight like that, if they weren't ahead, the fight would have went perfectly. Northward hits a gorgeous 4-man ult on top of them, but they're just not able to put the damage out to finish the fight when they need to early on, and then Kai'Sa just starts shredding through their whole team.
Yeah, they actually have so many tools to slow down the Skarner engage on the side of Screaming Sun. They can throw down the Event Horizon from Veigar, and right behind that, they can throw down the box from Thresh. And with all of those CC tools just lining up massive walls that Skarner can't get through, without access to the flash, he can't actually get onto a target and impale them, which just allows Dallas and Mowgli to style on the fight and dominate it.
Oh yeah, he's just kind of just a sitting duck there, just soaking up free damage. And even then, the mixed damage from Dallas goes through the Skarner so quickly, and then at least Jhin gets the kill, but he ends up dying anyway to Kai'Sa, so it resets Kai'Sa's bounty gold down a little bit. So I don't even know if it's even worth in that situation.
Yeah, might not be, as now Mowgli going to be, the free stun getting onto Eternal Cries there, and now Reese is going to be trying to chase onto it, uses the Stride Breaker, but isn't quite able to keep on top of him. Just gets a little bit of a hyper proc onto the opposing jungler, and is going to move on out after.
And then kind of posturing towards Baron now. They've cleared up all the vision from the side of MP now. They've got to walk into a death pit, in my opinion, against Thresh and Veigar.
Yeah, and another level 4 Ornn means another Ornn item, as that is going to be Typhoon picked up by Best Plumber.
And we've got about a 6k gold lead for SSG now as well.
Yeah, it's a huge lead for them there. Haven't really made it any bigger since earlier in the game. So a little bit of stabilization coming out from Mythos Purple, and that is what they want. They want to be able to get their scaling up on Kassadin. They want to be able to get these Ornn items across. This Archangels still isn't complete for Clogged Toilet because of how late he picked up the Tear of the Goddess. But once they're able to get that, it'll be a huge deal.
So do you even think, because I know my answer to this, but do you think MP, why did they even try to pursue that dragon fight? They were up 3 dragons to 1. They could give away a mountain.
I think it's the same reason probably as last game, in that they just feel like because they have all of the dragons, they need to engage ever farther. They need to keep snowballing because they feel like they are the snowball comp, because they're looking at these dragons that they have on the scoreboard and assume that that's the position they're in. But that's not the comp they've drafted, and they don't need to be going for stuff like that.
Yeah, they've got such a controlled comp with Skarner Ornn. They could have just waited a little bit more for Skarner's flash to come back up.
Yeah, then they do now have access to that. If Eternal Cries can just find an angle, get a flash, get an ult onto a carry who does not have QSS, Mowgli the Cat fits that entire description, they'll be able to get on into it. The disaster scenario would be going for a crazy flash hook onto Dallas, landing the Impale, and just getting a QSS immediately.
Yeah, it just feels so bad at that point. They gotta be careful too because he does have Banshees on the side of Mowgli, so he's got to be getting in there, flash, and then hit the E as well.
Or be blowing it out by something other from somebody else, like this Kassadin, who was just able to get onto there, and that's going to be the root from the Kassadin, followed up with by the root from Best Plunger, and they're going to be able to take out Mowgli the Cat without the Skarner even present. That is a huge play by Mythos Purple. Great job by Clogged Toilet, being able to use that Everfrost, jumping forward, getting the snare, following up with another snare, and able to take down the opposing carry. But now he's going to be face-checking onto Redeye. This could be a bit of a disaster here, as he just gets soloed out by Dallas, and that's the most important carry for Mythos Purple, taken off the map.
Yeah, and they're going to try to start a Baron. Yeah, starting the Baron with Jhin is going to take forever anyway.
Now they have to give this up. They have to walk away from the Baron right now. They can't do it very quickly with the Jhin. As you said, they don't have that consistent source of AD damage. And by the way, Reese's Pieces just split pushing out the game down here on the bot side, and that means the Baron can be started up by Screaming Sun. That is a disastrous move by Clogged Toilet to find himself picked off there by face checking. You cannot be the member going on into the enemy jungle, walking into bushes like that when you are so valuable on this Kassadin.
I think we've got an ensuing Baron fight right here. It's going to about 4,000 health.
Ooh, that's a really nice angle that he's getting on through here, and that's going to be the ulti onto Dallas that just gets QSS away from immediately. Not going to be effective at all. They would look like they were getting some snipes from the curtain call onto Redeye there, but he's just able to get out of the range. Now, Reese's Pieces is just pushing right in Northward's face. He just can't do anything to stop this late game Gnar from running on through, taking all of his turrets, and they can't stop them from doing the Baron either. They're just trying to do everything at once, and they are in fact doing nothing as a result, as Best Plunger is just getting engaged onto the backside by Dallas, and now here's a big engage for Reese's Pieces. He might have bitten off a little bit more than he could chew there, as Clogged Toilet has respawned. They're going to try to solidify this down. They're going to try to lock him down with the Call of the Forge God, and repeated ultimates coming through from Clogged Toilet. He's already level 18 on this cast and has incredibly low cooldowns, and he's able to pick up that shutdown. But it means very little when the side of Screaming Sun is able to pick up the Baron.
Yeah, just great control over the Baron pit, and the whole time, Reese's Pieces, we have to remember that he picked Gnar in the first rotation of picks. It was R3, I think, right? So you've got to go back again to why the Ornn into the Gnar. It did well early, but now it's just becoming a nightmare with Stridebreaker.
Yeah, it was R4, but it was before Northward was locking in the Ornn, so definitely was the blind pick here, and it looks like this Ornn cannot contain Reese's Pieces on the Gnar. Somebody who definitely could would be Clogged Toilet, but really that all stems from the fact that he got caught out face-checking, which just results in that disastrous scenario for his entire team. Now let's see if they feel the need to over-aggress on this Dragon. You really don't want to give up Soul Point here, but they just do not have the positional advantage, and they likely aren't going to be able to steal this away in a 50-50. It's just going to get taken down by Screaming Sun here, and now we're going to have a 7-Dragon game here, Drunk Carry.
Oh God, yet again.
Able to pick up the soul.
Oh man, so yeah, just a great turnaround. It's apparently what I've learned in this series is that if you're in Rampage, don't get the first 2 dragons because you're just going to jinx yourself.
Yeah, maybe.
Time and time again in these matches.
Yeah, the upgrade going to go over here on to Swain next. Leandri's Lament picked up by a Mighty Haraf there, who just has not been able to make too much happen on this Swain. Now another stun coming in through from Eternal Cries onto Redeye, but he cannot take that 1v1, and he's going to have to book it on out of there.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by the way that they're pulling off this comp for the side of SSG. We talked about it in pregame, it was going to be harder to do. They have less engage, even. They're accomplishing what they want very well, and they're containing the Kassadin, who was, what, 4-1 at one point?
Yeah, they really have. They've put a lot of work into shutting him down. I think he was 3-1 at one point, and now it's just been really not able to make these fights happen. You can see, though, he's incredibly powerful on this Kassadin, especially once he starts getting those ulti stacks up. If he can just keep it on going, he can deal a ton of damage and solo out people almost instantly. Also has a ton of independent pick potential from the inclusion of this Everfrost. So really, it's all up to Clogged Toilet to find the perfect angles on these fights and be able to dominate them that way.
Look at Gnar in the bot lane.
Now, the bot lane's kind of what you want here. You don't want access to too much CC on the side of Screaming Sun if you are Mythos Purple. You want to be able to take these fights 4v4, but instead they're going to send him on bot lane to try to engage farther onto Reese's Pieces. They're not going to be able to catch on to him, and now they know where the Cassidon is and can play around it. He's going to have to just slink back into Fog there and try to jump out from an unexpected angle.
Okay. So I'm actually surprised that they stopped doing the siege there. I guess the Baron was running out, but I was expecting them to get at least an inhibitor with that.
Yeah, it's just really tough here. They got to play around Clogged Toilet, who is just the biggest threat in this game. He does have access to the increased movement speed as well from that Cosmic Drive, so he is just going to be zipping on around the map. They need to be very careful not to get an unexpected angle here on the Mighty Haraf, just throwing down these Visions of Empire, but not really landed too many slows here. That's a great actual pick tool if they can find somebody, either catch somebody sleeping or actually cut off an important bridge like one of those jungle ramps.
I just want to give my hats off to Dallas right here. 13 kills right now in 40 minutes. Full build at 40 minutes as well. Playing 344 CS. When they were behind and Kaisa was 5-1, that was looking like Kaisa versus the world. And now the whole team has scaled up and become super powerful behind her.
Yeah, Northward might be getting engaged on here, but now here comes the engage from Eternal Cries. He's going on in. He lands the slow. He lands the stun, follows it up. Doesn't go for the impale, though, as they know that Redye's coming in from the side. Redye going to be going in for this engage. Going to be landing the knockup onto Northward and pricing even farther. Best female support now going to be landing that hook onto Eternal Cries, and he doesn't have anywhere else to go. He's just getting locked down and taken down by Mowgli. Now here comes the engage from the backside by Clogged Toilet, but he's just going to get melted down instantly. Did not get enough snares down to survive, and now he's going to be taken down. Best Plunger trying to carry on this fight, but he's just going to get turned on. He's the last man standing. He's going to be taken down as well. A triple kill picked up for Mowgli the Cat, and just like that, the entire series is over, Drunk Carry.
Oh yeah, just overstay there. A great cleanup. So much damage from the Kaisa and the Veigar. What a clean fight for them, and a 2-1 to the side of SSG.
Yeah, no, just a major mistake from Clogged Toilet there, though. He needed to be the primary carry, but he just launches himself in there immediately for CC and ends up taken down as a result. I lied. This is not a 7-dragon game, as it's going to end here with only 6 on the board.
Yeah, still super entertaining series though. Great job to both teams. Back and forth overall. We got the 2 subs in game 3. I enjoyed that thoroughly.
Yeah, no, excellently played there by both sides. A super close, super entertaining series brought to us tonight, but it does end up being Screaming Sun who takes it at the end of the day. An excellent game played by Dallas there in the bot lane on the losing bot lane matchup, where he's up against the incredibly aggressive Jin Swain duo, just able to survive it out, keep farming up, get a bunch of kills for themselves, and are able to eventually snowball it ahead and carry the game.
Yeah, and just great work from best female support, going all the way to that level 2, just showing the mastery of their lane, getting that first blood, really set the pace that whole time for that lane.
Yeah, no, 19 KP out of 26, by the way. So that's, what, 7 kills that went down that didn't have Kaisa there for them, and
hmm
14 of them being picked up by Dallas themselves. So just great performance on the
Insane.
Kaisa, really able to find the angles they needed. Great choice there by picking up the Mercurial Scimitar to survive out Eternal Cries, and they just were not able to find the angles they needed on the Skarner this game to be able to pick off some of the carries and to be able to win the fights as a result. And even when Mowgli ended up being caught up sometimes, they weren't able to take down all the members like they expected to, and Clogged Toilet was not able to scale up into that late game monster and perform in the fights when he needed to.
So as after the dust settles, we've got one team still that's won all their series in there. So Mythos is gonna go ahead and drop down there. SSG's gonna get a nice win. Great work overall from them for sure.
Yeah, congratulations to Screaming Sun here. Going to win the battle of the 2-0 teams here and going to move themselves on up to 3-0. And that's pretty much going to do it for the games we have streaming tonight, everybody. Stay tuned to the Arisen Twitter to find out when and where these games are going to be streamed. And tune in, of course, next week where we'll be bringing more of this exact same league. But for the night, that is going to be it. So good night, everybody, and thank you for tuning in.
Appreciate it, guys.